Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades. Gas masks and hand grenades.
Hey, what is happening, YouTube? We are here. We're finally doing this Moody Blues deep dive. It's like we've been in labor, and we went in and we were about ready to give up the ghost and have the baby, and then I lost my voice kind of on Saturday after going to see Yob last weekend. I called Chuck and I'm like, dude, I can't do this. He's like, good. I need a few extra days too, so. We're here, and we got a special guest with us. We've got Ryan, the Demon Master Reviews guy. Well, I thought you were some Metallica thing.
I have some Metallica somewhere, but
no, your name of your channel. I thought it was
Damage Incorporated. Demon Master Reviews is my nickname.
Oh, okay, that's your nickname. Didn't know that.
Yep.
My nickname's Jeff. It's kind of weird. Anyways, below me, we got Fiendeye. We got the fiendish one in the house. Chuckles is with us tonight. And Chuck and I have been talking about doing this one for a couple months, I think, somewhere in that range. Maybe even longer, probably.
Probably longer.
Yeah, we probably kicked it around like a year or so ago. And, I always accumulate other projects. But we're finally doing it and stoked about it because this was a real fun deep dive. This was a fun, immersive experience here. And anyway, so we got Ryan with us. We got Chuck with us, and we're going to get into everything. What
are we talking about?
Huh? Oh, look at
Moody
this.
Blues.
We're talking about the Moody Blues. That is right. Yes. The seminal English prog legends. We are only doing, I should note, though, the first 10 albums. We're going to do the debut, the Magnificent Moodies in 1965, up through 1981's Long Distance Voyager. I think most Moody Blues fans would say that's kind of the sweet spot. Certainly the late 60s, early 70s albums are the albums for this band. And it's not to say they were a band, I believe I saw on the Wikipedia or maybe on their website that technically I guess they kind of split up in 18. Like, is that for real or don't we know?
Yeah, because they had just finished 2017. They did the 50th anniversary tour of Days of Future Past. And
was everybody alive for that? I think everybody was still alive, right?
Yeah, Ray Thomas wasn't there.
Oh, he wasn't.
Graham Edge was.
Okay. And he died in 2021.
Yeah.
And I think Thomas died in 17 or 18.
I'd have to look it up. But yeah, I think they were only a couple years apart.
Yeah. So there's only 3 original guys. Well, original as in what you think of in the classic lineup. Because there were other guys in there, which I'll get into in a few minutes here. But the classic lineup is often thought of as Mike Pinder on keyboards, Mellotron, Chamberlain, that kind of stuff. Graham Edge on drums, spoken word. Justin Hayward on vocals and guitar. John Lodge on bass, keyboards, vocals. And then Ray Thomas on flutes and horns and woodwinds and all kind of wackiness and vocals too as well. So this is a unique band in that every single guy in this band could really sing quite well. I have my thoughts on who was the worst singer, and we'll get into that down the road. But they all could sing, and they could all layer their vocals, and so we'll get to that in a sec here. How did you come into this band, Ryan? I know, but tell everybody in the audience.
Well, obviously, I'm pretty recent to these guys. As obviously, I known about them from my dad. I'm pretty sure my dad is watching. Hey, Dad. But yeah, it was like I think 2 years ago, just as everything was being lifted from the pandemic. I went up to see my family in Illinois twice in 2021. I think sometime in June or July. The other one was with my grandmother. She's kind of getting a little bit I think she had Alzheimer's and stuff, but not going to go into too much with that. but I got to see my dad twice, and apologies, but yeah, I went to go see him twice, and he had all these collections of cassettes, and obviously he had Moody Blues, and there was a lot of others, but he did have Moody Blues in there, and that's how I found out about them, and getting ready for this, listening for 3 straight days to get ready for these guys.
You did a lot more prep than I did.
Yeah,
I listened for about the last 7 hours, and leading up to it, I had a couple albums in that I listened to more than once, but I had to kind of cram the homework in a little bit here. But how about you, Chuck? I mean, you're the oldest, and I think it should be noted too that this is kind of an age thing. That for you, Ryan, you're a pretty young dude. These guys were well into their career, almost coming to an end with their career when you would have been born. You know what I mean? Chuck was around before they were born, and I was about a year after they were started. So I'm actually still I'm in that, and I'm 57, so that'll tell you how long they've been around. Almost 60 years. So Chuck, how about you? You said your older brother.
Yeah. I think my first memory was hearing the song The Question back, well, it had to be 1970 when it was released. My brother had one of those portable cassette player radio, AM, FM, box thing with antenna. Mm-hmm. And we were on vacation up in the Sierras visiting my aunt and uncle, and he had that thing with him. And back in the day, all the kids rode in the back in the station wagon, no seat belts or not even seats. But he had that, and he played that pretty much that entire week that we were up there. And then after that, 1980-ish or so, a friend of mine, I was going to UCSB, turned me on to a couple more of their albums. And up to that point, I just had like their best of This Is the Moody Blues that came out in 74, I think it was. And so that was the first time I actually listened to full albums of theirs back in 1980. And I've seen them several times too. Actually, the first album I bought of theirs was Octave back in 1978, and I went and saw that tour. So that was my first experience live show with them too. This is 78.
So for me, being a kid in the 70s, you could not really escape hearing the Moody Blues on the radio. I'm trying hard to remember exactly maybe what song I first heard. I don't think I probably heard something like Singer in a Rock and Roll Band, or I probably heard Nights in White Satin, I'm sure. Yeah. Although I got a funny story about that at the tail end of this quickly. But I can't say what song I knew for sure. I can say for sure that the song that I really recognize as Moody's for me was 1978, 78, Octave 78, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Standing in the Slide Zone was big. I mean, that was the one that was like, boom. Okay, now I know who the Moodies are, and that's the song that I recall going, oh, okay, this is this Moody Blues band. And then later, probably connecting the dots to, oh, they do Nights in White Satin? Like, how'd that happen? That kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. That's actually Slide Zone's a good song, but probably about the only good song on that album. But it's just it's not Nights in White Satin because very few songs are, right?
Very different.
Here's the funny story with that. And as far as buying a Moody Blues album, ironically, I think it might have been Long Distance Voyager, and where that thing's at now, who knows? Just it either got traded, sold, fucking trash, stolen. By the way, if your dad is watching, I'm not tempering my language, so just so he knows that. That's how it is.
Yeah,
man.
I'll let him know.
He's gonna have to understand. This is an adult program, and if he thinks that you don't hear those words out here, that's not not realistic. I'll try to keep it cool, but I like that word a lot. It's my favorite word. Funny story though. Friday night, we're driving down to see Yob in Philadelphia, my daughter and I. And I throw in Days of Future Past. I put it on because we listened to some Yob on the way down, and I ended up throwing that on, right? Long story short, he says he recognizes Tuesday Afternoon, and she's digging the album the whole way through, right? We get to right before Nights of Manhattan, and I'm like, you're gonna know this song for sure. No fucking clue. No idea what it was. I've never heard this. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Are you kidding me? I never played this for you? You're joking, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't recognize this song at all. I was like, man. Well, I didn't do my job well there, did I? But yeah, so there you go. That is I'm pretty sure Long Distance Voyager was the one I got in the 80s because I would have been right around driving age, around 82. And I was one of those people that got a car because I had to, because I ended up commuting to school from a different school district, which was a no-no, but that's what we did to cheat the system. And and I had an orange 76 VW with the stereo system in that car was well worth way more than the car was.
Yeah, that's about how it was back in those days.
Yeah.
You're driving a Heat, but your stereo system was,
my stereo system was
top of the
banging,
line.
man, for sure. And I've got the tinnitus to show for it. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of history here. And of course, I didn't pull up my cheat sheet because I jumped on with Ryan and forgot. All right, here we go. So the Moody Blues were an English rock band formed in Birmingham, May of 1964. The band initially consisted of drummer Graham Edge, guitarist and vocalist Danny Laine, who you should know, maybe. I know you know who it is, Chuck.
Yep.
Danny Laine was with Paul McCartney and the Wings during the heyday of the Wings era. Mike Pinder on keyboards and vocals, multi-instrument and vocalist Ray Thomas, and bassist and vocalist Clint Warwick, with Edge being the group's sole continuous member throughout their entire history. Originally part of the British beat and R&B scene of the early and mid-1960s, the band came to prominence in the UK with a UK #1 and US top 10 single called Go Now, which is a cover. I actually thought that was their song for the longest time until I started doing this research. I'm like, oh, that's a cover.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of British bands did back then, a lot of covers.
They were doing a lot of covers back in that era, that's for sure. Yeah. And one thing about the history too is that I guess they would get residencies at pubs or places.
Right.
And
I'm going to mention that here.
Okay.
Laine and Warwick left the band at the end of 1966, being replaced by guitarist vocalist Justin Hayward and bassist vocalist John Lodge. They embraced the psychedelic rock movement of the late 1960s with their second album, 1967's Days of Future Past, being a fusion of rock with classical music performed with the London Festival Orchestra. That established the band as pioneers in the development of art rock or progressive rock.
And might I add, concept albums.
Right. It has been described as a landmark and one of the first successful concept albums. The group released 6 more albums and toured extensively until they went on hiatus in 1974. The records from this period were among the most successful in the progressive rock genre and produced FM radio hits such as Nights in White Satin, Tuesday Afternoon, Question, The Story in Your Eyes, Isn't Life Strange, and I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band. After resuming activities in 1977, Pinder left the band the following year and was replaced by Swiss keyboardist Patrick Moraz, formerly of Yes. In the 1980s, they took a more synth pop sound, having hits like Gemini Dream, The Voice, Your Wildest Dreams, I Know You're Out There Somewhere. Your Wildest Dreams made the Moody Blues the first act to earn each of its first 3 top 10 singles in the United States in 3 different decades. How about that? Moraz departed in 1991, followed by Thomas in 2002. Thomas died in 2018. The band's last studio album was the Christmas album, December in 2003, after which they decided against recording any further studio albums. However, they continued to tour throughout the 2000s, later reunited periodically for events, one-off concerts, short tours, and cruises until Edge's retirement in 2018, and then he passed away in 2021. The Moody Blues have sold over 70 million albums worldwide, including 18 platinum and gold LPs. They produced 16 studio albums, 6 of which made the U.S. top 20, with 2 reaching #1, and 8 of which made the UK top 20, with 3 reaching #1. 2018, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for over 50 years of exhilarating and significant music that has influenced the countless musicians and rock fans around the world. So there's a lot of really deep history here that I could get into. And certainly, Chuck, if you have anything you want to mention, or Ryan, if you have something that you want to, of for sure that you want to tip off. But I think the only major thing is that when they first kind of came on the scene, as Chuck said, pubs would actually sign bands to kind of like contracts to be the house band, so to speak. And they would play numerous sets. They may play 3, 4, 5 sets a night. And that was their job. For 8 hours, they were basically playing live.
Yeah, gave them, I would imagine, a steady income as musicians back in the day.
Yeah, but you were a professional musician back then. Really meant like you were gigging every day of the week, pretty much, like like going to work, like a regular Joe, going to work. And
which probably shows why they were doing mostly covers, because they're working 8 hours playing their playing in a pub or whatever.
Right, they don't have time to write music.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a thing to note in here. In '65, the band released their first album, The Magnificent Moodies. It was a mixture of rhythm and blues covers and Laine Pinder originals. The latter showing more of the Mercy Beat influence. The album was also included a cover of the George and Ira Gershwin standard "It Ain't Necessarily So." The back cover featured a specially written prose poem by Donovan Leitch, in case you don't know who that is. He had the songs like Mellow Yellow and Hurdy Gurdy Man and Catch the Wind, all that kind of stuff like that. The band held a launch party for the album with guests including George Harrison, Paul McCartney of the Beatles, and Marianne Faithfull. The day after the party, as Danny Laine later recalled it, we called up the Ridge Pride office. Ridge Pride was their small little label that they were on, and said we needed $100 to pay for the drinks bill. They told us they would be right over to see us, but they never showed up. When we went around to the office, we discovered they had closed it down and run to the hills.
Taking all their money.
Yeah, right, which sounds about
from their hit, Go Now, with
Ridge
them.
Pride left the band bankrupt with several debts, taking the money earned from the records up to a point, including the #1 selling Go Now with them. In July '65, the band released their first album. Oh, we already did that. The day. Here we go. I jumped here. So what ends up happening there is that they're signed to this little mini shitty sort of like label that's pretty shady. They got no money in advance, it sounds like, or if they did, they spend it on gear or whatever. They get out there, they throw this little party, they record an album, they get a #1 hit, and the label absconds with all the money that they made from it and disappears and doesn't honor any of the things they're indebted to. So what ends up, we'll talk about that album. I'm not going to lie, there's not a lot to be said about it for me. I'm going to show you. There were 2 different versions of it. This here is the, I believe, the U.S. version of it.
Yes.
It was called Go Now, the Moody Blues #1. It has a slightly different running order than the UK version, which is called the Magnificent Moodies, and that one looks a bit like this. None of us have this album. That's why I'm showing you this. Nope. There we go. You guys see it?
Yep.
Yep.
So that's the cover for the UK version there. The Decca distribution label there. And, Chuck, did you listen to it at all, or did you just bail on it?
I did not listen to it.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the song Go Now. And, be honest, I did listen to a couple of songs, but I didn't listen to the whole album. I got the gist of what that album was about.
Same.
And, thank goodness they moved on from that sound to who they became.
I'm trying to find the notes on it.
I got my notes.
No,
Right here
I'm
on my
trying to
phone.
see. I had some notes on that, but to be honest with you, I don't know where they went to. How about that? That's kind of weird. I might have overrode them with just something else here. Ryan, you got some quick notes on? Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Yeah. I just have written down very similar to you said all the UK bands. I literally just went off with the Rolling Stones, where basically the early part of the Stones' career were basically either either majority of or half of the album is covers and only maybe have a few original material pretty much. And outside of that, I hear blues. I think there's some ballads and either straight up rock and roll pretty much.
Yeah. It's very very blues based. It's very soul. Here, I found him here in beginning of '64. Ray Thomas and Mike Pinder began forming this. Come on now, Jeff. Come on now, dude. You really...
64 is when they changed their band name from the M&B5 to the Moody Blues.
Yeah.
Pinder was saying that he was interested in how music can affect and change people's moods by performing.
Yeah, and in '64, Thomas and Pinder began forming a new band. They had played together prior to that in a bunch of, Mercy Beat and soul bands. And they met up with Graham Edge and Danny Laine, who joined them. And then Thomas and Pinder's former El Riot, there was a band called El Riot, bandmate John Lodge was asked to join but declined as the other members already intended to move to London as a professional band after a few local gigs. While he was still in college, Lodge was still in college and was he wanted to finish college.
Yeah, he didn't join them because of that.
Right.
That's when they went out and got that Warwick guy.
Right. So they got the Warwick guy. They instead brought in Edge and Lane's former R&B Preachers bandmate Clint Warwick. The band hoped to receive sponsorship from the local Mitchells and Butler Brewery, who own numerous live music clubs, kind of like Live Nation, I guess. Even naming themselves the M&B5, though the sponsorship failed to materialize. The M&B5 played their first live show a few days after the formation at the Carlton Ballroom, later to become the rock music venue Mothers on Erdington High Street, where they became the resident band. By the end of '64, the band's name had evolved from the M&B5 to the Moody Blues. Aside from incorporating the M&B letters, the name was also a subtle reference to the Duke Ellington song Mood Indigo. Mood Blues. Indigo is blue. It was their second single, a cover of Bessie Banks' Go Now, released in November '64, that proved their breakthrough, being promoted on television with one of the first purpose-made promotional films in the rock and pop era. How about that? They did a video long before MTV ever was around.
Oh, that's cool.
And the single reached #1 in Britain, but remains their only #1 single, and #10 in America. That's kind of crazy. Ooh. And was released on London Records. So basically, this album is just, like I said, it's covers, it's Mercy Beat stuff, kind of. It's rhythm and blues. And I'll be honest with you, I happened upon the expanded edition, which has 25 tracks on it. I got to track 13. I said, yep, I think we're going to call it a wrap. I put my time in. It was very, very, let's put it this way. If that had been the only album they ever put out, no one would ever know Moody Blues' name. It would have faded into
It would have been the one-hit wonder.
Exactly.
And about that time, that's when Epstein was managing him too, from the Stones. He picked him up as a band when they were touring.
You mean the Beatles? Epstein?
Yeah.
Brian Epstein?
Yeah, Brian Epstein.
It wasn't a very long-lived thing, though. I don't think they were.
No, it was only for about a year before he dropped them. But that was after I think Danny Laine left.
Mm-hmm.
And Warwick left, and I think that's when Epstein dropped them.
But yeah, Janice says, gotta love the baby version of the mature band. Nah, not really. Sorry, Janice. Not really. Not for me. But the interesting thing of that is that if I had only heard the Beatles' Love Me Do or the first Beatles album, I probably wouldn't have stuck around with that. Now, granted, you got to put yourself in that time frame too, because it's very different to be discovering that shit 20 years later versus being there and being in it right then and there. Mm-hmm. So if that's all there is, you're like, oh, this is great. But 25 years later going, oh, this is, or now in my case, 40 some years, 50 years later. It doesn't work for me so well.
A lot of stuff followed. There's a lot of stuff out there, period.
Yeah.
So
by the autumn of '67, the Moody Blues contract with Decca Records was set to expire, and they owed the label several £1,000s in advances. They had the support, however, of Decca A&R manager Hugh Mendel, who had been instrumental in the recent establishment of London Decca's new subsidiary imprint, Durham Records. With Mendel's backing, the Moody Blues were offered a deal to make a rock version of Antonin Dvorak's Dvorak, is that how you say his name? Dvorak?
I'm going with you.
New World Symphony, to promote the company's new Dynamic Stereo Sound audio format, which was essentially a very early version of quadraphonic sound. In return for which the group would be forgiven their debt. The Moody Blues agrees, but insisted that they be given artistic control of the project, and Mendel, as executive producer, was able to provide this despite Decca's notoriously tight-fisted attitude to their artists. According to the band, Peter Knight, who had been assigned to arrange and conduct the orchestral interludes, came to see them play live before the recording and liked their newly written songs so much, he preferred to work on an album of those rather than the Dvorak assignment. An album of the Moody Blues' own new material was undertaken instead, with Decca Durham executives not finding out about the change of plan until after the album was finished. That's pretty brilliant right there.
I think so too.
It's like, hey man, here's what you get. You don't like it, sue us. We'll see you in court. I think it worked out in Durham's favor pretty heavily.
Yeah, in hindsight, yes. At that time, they were skeptical. I think that.
Yeah.
One, you didn't.
You're up, man. You're gonna get to show Days of Future Past. Let me just throw some tidbits out there. Days of Future Past is their second album, but I kind of look at it more like their first album, but it's not really.
Well, it's the first album with Justin Hayward and John Lodge.
True.
In the fold. Right. So
the classic era. It's the first album of that period. This comes out July 23rd, 1965. So literally about 10 months before I was even born. Chuck, you were how old? 10? 7?
6.
Okay. I tried to make you older than you are.
I have it saying 67.
Yeah, 65 was when.
It's 67. I looked at it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's in here wrong on Wikipedia. I remember that after the fact. It came out on the label Decca, and it was produced by Denny Cordell and Alex Murray, and then of course the orchestrations were done by Peter Knight. In 1960, where are we at here? Come on now, Jeff. Man, my notes are all over the place. Oh, I see what happened. I know what I did wrong here. Here you go. I found my notes. I got Days of Future Past in there twice. I had it above here. Here's what I have on the first album real quick. A very average sounding blues, British soul pop record with a few decent tracks, but only the cover of Go Now as a standout. Mostly covers was the trend back then. Only From the Bottom of My Heart, It Ain't Necessarily So, and Let Me Go are even that interesting. If I heard this back then, I'd barely have been interested except in passing, although, again, you have to put yourself in those times, so maybe I would have thought it was amazing. I'll give it a 4 out of 10, but it's not for me in any form. I wouldn't buy it. I just wouldn't own it. Wouldn't interest me. Here we go. November 10th, 1967 is when it comes out. Tony Clark and Michael Barclay are the producers. This album was recorded at a time when the Moody Blues were suffering financial difficulties. Blah, 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 blah. We talked about all that stuff. They composed a suite of songs about the life of an everyday man with a group and orchestra, mostly playing separately and mixed together. It was a moderate success upon release, but following steady radio airplay, particularly of the hit song Nights in White Satin, which became a top 10 U.S. hit in 1972, it has since been listed among the most important albums of 1967. Decca had been experimenting with stereophonic sound for classical recording and hoped to capture the pop market in the same way by interweaving classical recordings with the group's interpretation of the same music. Instead, the band, initially without the label's knowledge, decided to focus on an album based on an original stage show they had been working on and mix that with classical arrangements. Keyboardist Mike Pinder had purchased what do you get, Chuck?
He got a Mellotron.
After
he saved his money and after working in the factory that manufactured Mellotrons.
Oh, that I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, he worked in the factory that made Mellotrons, and then he went on with his music career, saved enough money up, but he was able to buy one in 67. And I think that was a major step into
creating
sound that we associate with Moody Blues on those next 7 albums.
Did they say how much one of those cost back then?
It didn't. No.
Didn't? Okay.
I mean, and I didn't poke around to see, but it didn't mention.
I'd be curious. I imagine they're not cheap at all. Even back then, they probably weren't cheap. I'm getting there. Hang on a sec, Ryan. I found my notes were out of sync there. So
yeah.
Let's see. We've got and a Mellotron, for those who don't know, is a tape replay keyboard. It's basically you have all these little tapes of different sounds like strings and oboes and harps and all that stuff. And when you press a key, it plays this tape on a loop. And the other band I think that most people would associate with the Mellotron shortly after this, would be the Beatles. Use it in Strawberry Fields, obviously, but the other big one would be King Crimson. I don't know if Yes ever used it. I don't think Waitman did he?
I think he did.
I don't think he used them live, did he? I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he used them live. Not when I started seeing Yes, but they were notorious for breaking down.
Yeah,
King Crimson, when they toured, I think they had 3 of them.
I was going to say, I know they had 2. I maybe
so in case one went dead on them, they would cannibalize another one, or just put the other one up stage and send the one back. I don't know.
Yeah.
But another band that used Mellotron back in that year of '67, the Beatles released Strawberry Hill, using it on Michael Pinder's suggestion, by the way,
Strawberry
to
Fields,
Beatles to try out the Mellotron. And another Decca artist at the time was the Rolling Stones, and they used it a lot on their Satanic Majestic.
That's right. Satanic Majesty's Request.
Album. So it was starting, I think, to get around to not just prog bands, but other mainstream bands. So
all right, let me wrap this little piece up and we'll let Ryan and you guys go on the albums. With Dawn as a Feeling as a starting point for a concept piece about day in the life, Hayward wrote Nights in White Satin about the changes between one relationship and another, using bed sheets as a metaphor. When Pinder added a string line on the Mellotron to accompany Hayward's basic song frame, the group realized they had written something notable and a suitable ending for the song cycle, and probably something that really nobody really else had really heard before in popular music like that. Nights in White Satin, despite eventually becoming a legendary classic, was very slow to gain popularity. It was released as a single from the album and made 19 in the UK in late 67, early 68. It would eventually make it to number 9 in the UK on reissue in December of 72, and number 14 on the charts on another reissue at the end of 79, by which time it had been covered by several artists, including Eric Burden and Ward, Giorgio Moroder, the Dickies, and eventually by various non-English groups like, I don't know who any of these people are, so I'm not even going to bother saying them. Yeah. Likewise, in the U.S., Nights in White Satin did not make the Billboard Hot 100 on its original release as a single in 68. It was bubbling under at 103, although it reached number 2 on re-release in 72. It's now regarded as a Moody Blues signature song. In the U.S., Tuesday Afternoon was also released as a single. It was more successful on initial release, peaking at number 24. Days of Future Past was the second and last album to be released in both stereo and mono formats in the U.S. The mono version was pressed in a limited quantity as it was released during the phase out of mono LPs by the major record companies. Thus, it's an often sought-after item amongst record collectors. I got to check to find out what version my mom has, because I swear it's mono. I remember seeing it, and if it is, I'm going to be like, hey, Mom, I know we don't talk all that often, but that Moody Blues album, you never listen to that, do you? You know you have a stereo, right? Last little bit here. Days of Future Past was issued as a discrete quadraphonic open reel tape in 77. This master was also used for 2001 DTS 5.1 channel audio release, and again for a 2-disc deluxe edition SACDE, which you don't have that one, right? That's the one you don't have, Chuck.
That's one I don't have, yeah.
Okay. Released in 2006. On November 17, 2017, the original mix was made available for the first time on CD as the Days of Future Past 50th Anniversary Deluxe Edition, also released with Moody Blues Days of Future Past Live, which was recorded live in Toronto. So that's it. So go ahead. I think I'm gonna change us to this view. There you go.
Yeah, obviously, I think, just writing down the notes for this. Obviously, like, this is, I've heard that this is the first prog rock album, but I think when I was listening to this, it was kind of a little bit rough around the edges, like and not quite as refined as what they would later be, but for what it is, I actually did enjoy this. Like, I enjoyed this a little bit more than the debut, which I would probably give that a 7. This I would probably give it an 8. It's a really good album, and they would start to get, a little bit better. But for their first prog rock outing, it's pretty good.
Any particular songs you like on there?
I think it depends on this. Shoot, it'd probably be the last one, Nights in White Shadow, which it's on this my dad's version.
Right, it's on all the versions, right?
Yeah, obviously. But yeah, I think that's probably my favorite. But I feel like the album as a whole feels like one whole album. That's why I can't really pick a favorite, because
it's a concept album.
Yeah, obviously, like I feel like
right.
I have it themed around the day-night cycle. So I feel like I think it's like kind of something like 2112, where it's more of like it's one whole piece, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, it's a concept album, and it might be one of the very first concept albums. Trying to remember. Can you think of anything from back in the 60s that was a concept album before that? Chuck?
Not off the top of my head.
Like Crimson's first album was not a concept album.
No.
Yes was not a first. Hang on, Ryan. The first album by Yes was, well, actually the first two albums by Yes, Time and a Word and the Yes album, they weren't concept pieces at all.
No.
I mean, I guess you could say maybe Sgt. Pepper was kind of loose.
Which was the same year. It came out in 67 as well.
Right. I think it came out a little before this. Time.
Yeah, because this was late. This November 67, yeah. So at the end of the year.
But I don't think, like, the thing about Sgt. Pepper is that, yeah, it's about this fictitious band. But there's a lot of songs in it, like Within and Without You. When I'm 64, like, there's a lot of songs that don't really have a concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a linear concept, where this is a linear concept of guy gets up, goes to breakfast, goes to school, goes to work, goes to lunch, goes home, and then at night, so it's literally a day in the life cycle, sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah, so,
I think Sgt. Pepper is more like was side 2. That was kind of the concept side. It wasn't the entire album. So
yeah.
you say.
Yeah. All right, Chuck, how about you, man? Why don't you give us your stuff?
Well, I mean, this was a milestone recording for the band, and I know that other prog fans that I know refer to the Moody Blues as a prog band, and I never really did, and I still kind of don't, but they definitely have the elements there, and all those elements were pretty much present in the first album of that Hayward and Lodge lineup, and this album of Days of Future Past, with the concept, the mellotron in heavy use, and then the use of an orchestra. So
right,
those three elements, I think, is the reason why a lot of people point to this as as one of the best prog albums, or a influential prog album. And I kind of get that now. Turn the light on here, but yeah, it was not something that I really listened to until later on. I didn't really, my older brothers, I don't think they had that album until later on, in the 70s. But I think, with the turn of the corner that the band did with their writing, with these instruments that they were using, it kind of just set the course for the success and for the rest of the albums that we're going to be talking about here. You know, the album as a whole, I love, and it definitely has its songs that were hits. You know, Nights in White Satin and Tuesday Afternoon, one of my favorite all-time favorites. But it also had Peak Hour in there, which has this really kind of funky little go-go guitar solo in it that just kind of pegs it into the 60s. That sound, that twanginess, you know.
Right.
And I love that. And Evening Time to Get Away is another good sing-along for me. So, like the band. I like the start that these guys took, and look forward to talking about the rest of these albums.
Mike, the Snow Goose was 1975, man. That's way after 1967. Boogie here says Mothers of Invention Freak Out. Yeah, I guess that's actually not, that might be pretty accurate, actually. I'm not a huge Zappa fan from that era or Mothers guy, but that's not far off because it's kind of Zappa's take on pop culture, and and all the songs are kind of linear. So that could go. Yeah, that's not bad. Not a bad one. Yeah. Woody Guthrie was later, though, I think. Go ahead, Mike.
I will say, when was Tommy from The Who?
Good point. Well, that was in the 70s, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that was 70?
70? 72?
Could be.
Oh, hang on.
Or was it? 69.
69.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was 69.
I remember hearing that music.
69.
I remember hearing Tommy's music in
69, May of 69. Yep.
Yeah.
So nice guess there. But I still think this one's kind of in the prog sphere and pop music in general. It might be the first. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't weird, who knows out there. May be some really obscure band out there that I'm not really aware of, but I would say this one's definitely up there. And then you've got, I don't remember Alice's Restaurant. That was that the 60s? I thought that was the 70s.
60s.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Check the year on that one. Alice's Restaurant. Yeah, for me, I'm gonna get a little more detailed. The strings, they set the tone in this album. They set a lot of the melodic motifs. So things that you're going to hear a little bit later, you actually hear in the string parts in that very first section of The Day Begins. You actually hear part of the Nights in White Satin
you do.
string arrangement in there at the beginning.
Yeah, you do.
So the first 11 minutes is basically all strings and spoken word, which is kind of a bold thing to do. You're not coming out of the gate with Nights in White Satin or something like that. In fact, it's at the tail end of the album. So when was Alice's? When was Alice's?
I just looked up the Mothers of Invention. That album was 66.
Yeah, that was 66. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm wondering about the Alice's Restaurant when that was. So then you got Dawn As If Dawn Is a Feeling. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I'm going to try to sing some of this.
Please do.
Has a really breezy British vocals, a very memorable refrain. Really, really cool. Morning's very British and has a super hummable, memorable verse. That chorus is so good.
Thank you, Jim.
Children flying, dying. Super, super, very. Always will. And it's just like at the end of that when they go, yesterday is gone. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful song. I believe that's a Thomas song, I believe. He always wrote the real wistful kind of British sounding songs.
Yeah.
It's also got a little, Peak Hour has a good Who-like vibe to it. Like I Can See for Miles and Miles. You definitely hear, I hear that in there.
Okay.
The Afternoon Suite, orchestrations. Then you get to Forever Tuesday Afternoon. Those Mellotrons, man. Oh my God. It's just like, I'm melting in a puddle of ooze, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that. And it's just like so fucking cool. Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, and Hayward's.
Tuesday afternoon. Just fucking brilliant. Brilliant, man. I'm just beginning to see that I'm on my way. Oh, that line is so good. So good. I can listen to that forever, man.
Yeah, there's, you know, the start of many memorable lines.
Yes,
That album.
Yes. Many. Evening time, time to get away. Eerie, almost Pink Floydy. Has a Pink Floydy vibe to it to me. Really good. That high-pitched falsetto on there is so well done. I don't know who's doing that. I don't know if that's John Law. It might be Ray Thomas, actually, because he had that. He would do a lot of falsetto stuff in there.
And I think Lodge did it also.
What's that?
Lodge did also. The
Did he?
falsetto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eating Sunset. That's a solid track, but it's probably my least favorite. Twilight Time is that super psychedelic, the orchestra in the background, the choral vocals and effects. It's like swirling, and yeah, it's so freaking killer. And then you get to the legendary classic song. I mean, I should know it off the top of my head. I forget the chords, but so it's nights in white satin, never reaching the end. And then he does that incredible letters are written, never meaning to send. And then it does that fucking epic, but I love you. And then it's got that wailing guitar in the background, that wow. And you're just like, I'm just like, dude, when I listen to that song, I'm entranced by how incredible the musicianship was to put that song together. It's so incredible. And then you get to the end, you get to the late night lament, you know, the breathe deep, the gathering gloom, watch lights fade from every new room. Bedsitter people look back and lament at the blah, 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 useless days spent, you know, just fucking, you know, the funny thing is that I thought no other album in their catalog is going to usurp this album. I was wrong. This is still a top 3 album for me, but it actually slipped a little bit, mainly just because there are some bits in there that aren't as strong the entire way through the album.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's you know, this is what I said. This is an amazing album blending Britpop, early prog, art rock, and orchestrations. It's pretty astounding that there isn't a minute on this album that I don't really like or feel is special. The music orchestrations, the instrumentation, the vocals are perfect. Easy 10 out of 10, legendary classic masterpiece to me. It is. It's a masterpiece. The thing is, they're going to go ahead and write, maybe 2 more masterpieces yet, which is kind of mind-bendingly mind-blowing. But yeah, I don't know about you guys. If you were going to give them numbers, what would you give them? I guess I didn't make that a part of the deal.
632. I don't know. I mean,
come on now, don't be a smart ass. Out of 10, you bastard. What do you got, Ryan? What do you got? You're muted, Ryan.
Apologies for that. I didn't realize I was muted. But yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. It's like I said, it's rough around the edges, but I know later albums are going to be way better than it.
I don't know. I don't hear much roughness in that, but that's your opinion, so that's all right.
Yeah,
go ahead.
we both have different, you know, listens of this album, different takes, obviously.
What do you got? What do you got there, Chuck?
I'll agree with Ryan on this. 8, solid 8.
You know, I got 2 words for both of you. There you go. All right. Let's move on to this one. I'm going to show my.
Well, what did you give us a number, Jeff? I didn't hear a number. Did
10 out of 10.
Number?
You get
10 out of 10.
You get okay. 10.
Oh,
sorry, I must have lapsed.
I'm going to show my copy of this because I have the 50th anniversary, and then Chuck, you can show yours. So this is the 50th anniversary reissue that came out in 2018, I think. 5 CDs, Blu-ray with the 5.1 included in it. I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to my turn. Ryan, what do you got on this one? In Search of the Lost Chord. Oh, one quick hold on. July 26, 1968, it came out. It's on Decca. It was produced by Tony Clark, who is going to be their producer through all their classic albums going forward. It's out on Decca Studios was where they recorded it. In Search of the Lost Chord is another concept album centered around the broad theme of quest and discovery, including world exploration, music, philosophy through the ages, lost love, spiritual development, knowledge in a changing world, higher consciousness, imagination, and space exploration. Space exploration will go on to become the theme of the group's 69 album, To Our Children's Children, inspired by and dedicated to the Apollo 11 mission. The mysterious lost chord of the title is revealed to be the mantra, or Om, which is the last stanza in Graham Edge's poem, The Word. According to keyboardist Mike Pinder, the title was inspired by Jimmy Durani's humorous song, I'm the Guy That Found the Lost Chord, itself a reference to the Lost Chord by Sir Arthur Sullivan. I don't know who these people are, but you know.
You don't know who Jimmy Durante is?
I know who Jimmy Durante is.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know. Do you know who Arthur Sullivan is? Sir Arthur Sullivan?
But of course not.
Of course you don't.
No.
Smart ass. All right, go ahead, Ryan.
Not that old.
Oh yeah, this one is. I do believe is a definite. I think to me this is definitely an improvement from Days of Future Past. Easily love. I just love the hell out of this album from beginning to end. Like I think a few standouts I like. I like Ride My Seesaw on here. I like what's the one? Legend of a Mine. This is just way better. I probably would need to give it another listen to again, but I absolutely love this album. But I think at the time when I was finished listening to this, I'm like 9.5 easily.
There you go.
It's definitely an improvement.
What do we got here? We got James says the first concept album was Woody Guthrie Dust Bowl record. Wakeman says that? Rick Wakeman? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I could see that, though, because Woody Guthrie was writing about the whole post-Depression era. Yeah.
Yep.
And Rick is here talking about Sir Mix-a-Lot. Of course. Like, why wouldn't he be, right?
And Rick, it's the Bloody Moose.
The Bloody Moose. Yeah, the Bloody Moose. Okay, so you gave it a 9.5 out of 10. All righty, cool. Chuck, what do you got?
Yeah, 68. This album was the psychedelic record. I mean, with Legend of Mine, obviously, that kind of homage to Timothy Leary. But Voices in the Sky, Best Way to Travel, and they all kind of are steeped in that peyote tea.
Yeah, there's something going on there. Someone's in the studio. It was smoky in there.
Well, I think also in 67, some of the band members did try LSD. So,
yes, they did. Yep.
So I think that kind of directed them on the path on this album. But yeah, higher consciousness and the quest and discovery record for sure. But I always refer to it as the psychedelic record. And the way that it starts again with another poem.
Yep.
Granted, a little bit more frantic, going from mumbling into hysterics. But that's the way they did that, to lie in the meadow and hear the grass sing. Who else says that? If you haven't had drugs in your system.
That's true. Good point. I'm high on peyote right now. Just saying.
I could tell. I wasn't going to say anything.
It's not. I
saw the bucket next to you.
It's not true.
I know.
I did ayahuasca. I did a little ayahuasca. Ayahuasca tea.
So Departure, that goes right into Ride My Seesaw, which has probably one of the best restrained guitar solos in the middle of that. And that's one thing I noticed about this band on other songs is that unlike other prog bands that came afterwards, there wasn't a whole lot of noodling and stuff with guitar solos. It was just direct and go right back into the lyrics. And appreciate that for that kind of structure that they had. But with all that structure, there was just a lushness to this sound that these guys had.
Dude, you stole my word, because I'm going to use that word lush about 8 million times.
Right.
And that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. There's layering and lush layering of vocals and mellotrons, like numerous stacked mellotrons, and
Right.
you know, that's what gives it this super thick, hazy, beautiful, soft, pillowy feeling, like you could fall into it. And, you know, and I think that you're right about the one thing. The reason that probably you and even I have a little bit of difficulty saying this is a pure prog rock band is because they didn't noodle much. There wasn't crazy keyboard solos and fucking. I didn't talk about Rush yet. I said Lush. That's right. I'll get Rush in here somewhere, I'm sure. They're coming up, 74. But yeah, I mean, you know, basically, that's, I agree with you, because you said you have a tough time saying that they're a prog or a prog rock band, and that would be the big thing, because in Genesis you had Peter Banks, Tony Banks doing all the craziness, right? In Crimson you have the bizarro shit from Fripp and Baloo and all those guys. You know, the constant wankery and the long, you know, you don't really have that in it. Yes, you've got Steve Howe, you've got Rick Wakeman, you got
yeah, exactly,
Chris Squire. You don't really have that in this band. Nobody's really. It's always a 5-piece thing.
Yeah. There's not really any, you know, one individual standing out,
right?
Apart from the other band while they're performing, and so Ride My Seesaw. Note on this band that as a result of playing with the orchestra, they intentionally said that they were just going to play all the instruments themselves. And they ended up using 33 on this album.
Wow.
So, including the sitar, which you hear on
Ohm.
On Ohm. Yeah. So anyway, House of Four Doors and into Legend of Mine. And in the Legend of Mine, there was something that was used there, or a technique that's used in the studio called pan pots, which is kind of like panning.
Yes.
With a camera, but instead with the sound that you definitely notice with the way, like that cello sound that goes through one side to the other. It's like a spaceship flying by.
Yep.
So the use of that was innovative, I thought too, you know. And adds so much to it. And then the percussion that these guys had in places that was found throughout the next 6 albums was kind of in place here too. But yeah, the Voices in the Sky, Best Way to Travel, Thinking is the Best Way to Travel. Just good concepts and great imaginary, you know, images that just get conjured up in my head. Yeah. So what else do I got there? Well, the actor, there's a line in The Actor that says, "Put out your problems with the cat," which it just sounds like, well, I wish I could do that, you know.
Yeah, don't we all? Right.
Just put your problems out with the cat and try a little bit more. And then the spoken word, the last chord being Om, and then the song Om after that, which that's where you hear the Indian influence with the sitar, the tablas, and I guess there was another instrument in there that I didn't write down that Lodge was playing at the time. So 9.5. This album was one of the albums I got in 1980 that I listened to over and over and over again. And then when we were getting prepared for this meeting here tonight, it was like I didn't really need to listen to it, but you know, I went back and listened.
It's like running into an old friend that you missed really bad.
Right.
You know, yeah.
And I didn't do this yet.
There you go.
The copy that I have, which has the deluxe edition here, 2 CD set. You know, one thing that cracks me up is if you look at the pictures of Pinder, which on this one you can't really see, but it's like he's like the Michael Palin of the Moody Blues.
Big time, man. I note that. You just stole my thunder on that.
Yeah, but this picture on the back of this album, it's just like it looks like he's out of a Monty Python skit. It cracks me up.
Yep, like
so
9.5, eh?
I say 9.5.
Yep. All right. So my version is, as I said, the 50th, and I was talking to Chuck earlier today, and I found the 50th edition of to our children's children, like cheapest I've seen it so far. I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but man, I really want to now. I'm not going to say how I'm going to buy it because I don't have any money, but it might include some kind of illegality. Let's just put it that way. Now I just actually fucking, I'm like Trump. I just incriminated myself on camera. You'd think I'd be smarter than that, like him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the booklet that comes on the 50th anniversary edition here, and lots of cool stuff in here, pictures, lots of write-ups on everything. I hate to admit I haven't read it. I should have read it in prep for this, but I just didn't have time. Really, really good stuff. And Rick wanted us to note, and he's right, really fantastic artwork from Days of Future Past up through probably every good boy deserves favor. About that time, it starts to slide a little bit, but they always had a neat conceptual stuff going on with that. And this album, this set includes 4 CDs, and like I said, I believe it's a Blu-ray or.
Thank you, Rick, for bringing that up, because that was something I wanted to mention. The artist Phil Travers did the album cover for Lost Chord all the way through to 7 Sojourn. So he,
here it is.
Yeah, he was used for these 7 albums.
So this is, it's a Blu-ray, or no, it's a DVD. I'm sorry, is it? Is that a Blu-ray? I can't tell on the light in here. It looks like it's a DVD, not a Blu-ray. Which has the 5.1 stereo surround mix. It was done by Jacko Jaksic, who, if you know King Crimson, that's the recent singer of the last 10, 15 years. Worked with Gavin Harrison, Stephen Wilson. Stephen Wilson did not do these, which is mind-blowing that Stephen didn't do these. I am like blown away that Stephen didn't do any of the Moody Blues stuff. Maybe he's not a fan. I don't know.
Maybe he wasn't asked.
Huh?
Maybe he wasn't asked.
He might not have been. You're right.
Or he's too busy. Too busy doing Crimson stuff. So they got Crimson people to do the Moody Blues stuff.
Yeah, he's got the Crimson shit's been redone 18 fucking times by now. So this has BBC Radio 1 tracks, alternate album mixes, additional 68 studio sessions. It has the new stereo mixes, the Justin Hayward vocal mixes. It's got the 50th anniversary, the original mix, the original stereo mix, the singles that came out from the album, and the various singles. I think there were 4. It's got a mono mix on it that was never released. And
they have the alternate versions. I would imagine it does, because my copy has it.
Yeah, it's got all that stuff you've got there, plus more.
Plus some live stuff.
It's also got a live show from French TV. Something dance. I can't read that. I can't read French. Color Me Top, In Search of a Lost Chord from BBC. So a lot of stuff. I've listened to a lot of it, but I haven't done a lot of the visual stuff. I'm really lazy with the visual stuff on these things. I never seem to get around to it. But yeah, I want to talk about a couple tracks on here. You son of a bitch. First of all, just an absolutely mind-bending album. And if you look at the artwork, you've got death over here and birth over here, right?
Yep.
And in between, you've got the various phases of, like, man ascending. I would assume this is the heaven. I'm not even sure where the Moody Blues is up here. But that looks like a mushroom.
Well, maybe that's something with transcendental meditation.
Could be.
Which I know the band was into that. I don't know what year though.
Probably that LSD stuff there. So let's see. We're going to get into the tracks quick here. Ride My Seesaw, man. Just a kick-ass tune. Down, 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 down. Ride. And then you got these stacked harmonies. Ride my seesaw.
Mm-hmm.
Da, 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 da. And it's got one of the bigger, cooler guitar riffs in Moody Blues. I mean, the Moody Blues have some good guitar-driven songs, but rarely are they heavy. You don't really hear like a lot of what I would call like distorted guitars. But this has got a great riff. Down, 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 down. Really cool, man. Love that rocky riff. Huge chorus. stellar, sounds very British, of course. Dr. Livingston, quaint British, very tuneful, like most of Lodge's songs are. We're all looking for something, or someone, I think it is.
Yeah.
Very memorable orchestrations that work really well on the track. It's very Monty Python-esque, though. It's got that weird Python vibe. That's what I wrote down. So, House of Four Doors. Probably I like this song a lot, but it's probably my least favorite track on the album.
Yeah.
It's kind of a grower. It's kind of weird. It's not super tuneful. Is that a Pinder track? I'm trying to remember.
Lodge, I think it is.
That's the Lodge one, yeah. Yeah, okay. Actually, I think the more you listen to it, that one kind of grows on you. But then after that, you've got Legend of a Mind. Or, I'm sorry. Am I right here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Legend of a Mind, man. What a fucking monster track. That is like to me, that's the penultimate trippy, acid, psychedelic, Timothy Leary. And then you've got the orchestration going, wow. It's just so cool.
And that flute solo in there too was
amazing. Like it's almost like a minute and a half long flute solo towards the end.
Is.
And you just get lost in it. It's like super it's almost like narcotic feeling. Like you're just like, I feel good. I feel good. Like I knew that I should. Oh, that's a different band. Yeah, just a masterpiece. Stunning, psychedelic, trippy, jaw-droppingly gorgeous. Love the flute section, as you noted. That's my favorite track on the album. Voices in the Sky, a beautiful, gorgeous Hayward ballad. Bluebird flying high. Da, 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 da.
Again,
just what is happening to me. Da, da, da. It's just so beautiful. It's just da, 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 da. It's just such a beautiful tune. The Best Way to Travel. That's a Thomas Weird one. I love it. It's so cool. The best way to travel, and it's like doing this weird like
doom doom doom.
You know what it's got? Yeah, that's the guitar part, but it's like the do 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 do.
Yeah.
It's like out of Blue Jay Way, not Blue Jay Way. What's the song on? Oh fuck, on Magical Mystery Tour that does that same thing. Was it All You Need Is Love? There's that part where it just goes on and on and on, and it's just a droning sort of like do 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 do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't think of the song.
Yeah, I think it's All You Need Is Love. Super killing. I love Ray Thomas's stuff, man. I'm a sucker for that British weird, nutty psychedelia stuff. Speeding through the universe. Oh, speeding through the universe, thinking it's the best way to travel. I love that line, man. Visions of Paradise, man. The harmonies on this album are amazing. It's got all the melodic mellotron. You got the horns on there. It's so gorgeous. A little bit of a Middle Eastern ending to that one there. The Actor, another brilliant track by Hayward. Voice, the flutes, the keys, the mellotrons, gorgeous melodies. The recording techniques and engineering on this album are just jaw-dropping, man. They're just like, if you're an audiophile, I have not listened to that 5.1 mix, but I bet it's amazing. And I haven't listened to it because I lost my system in the great takeover of my storage unit. So I'll probably never own one again. But anyways, Ohm is Moody Blues Within You Without You. It's kind of there Within You Without You. It's very drony. It's got that sitar, that whining, that drone of the sitar. Love it. Super spacey. The harmonies are spectacular on it.
And the chanting as it outros of that song.
Amazing. Yep. Killer.
Yeah.
So the question is,
Chills.
Is this album as good or better than Days? I think it's on equal footing, but to be honest with you, the only missing thing is the orchestrations. Although a few of the songs like House of Four Doors and Mr. Livington are almost too campy for their own good to a degree. But I really love this album. It's a 10 out of 10. Another 10 out of 10, man.
Well, listen.
I'm easy. I'm apparently pretty easy.
We know that.
On the Threshold of a Dream. Do you have that? That one, Ryan?
No,
Okay.
I wish I did though.
Oh, what do you got, Chuck? You got it.
I got it.
You
Let me
got
get it
it
out of my special CD case, a
Look at
Ziploc
you.
bag.
nice.
I'm so jealous y'all got it.
I don't have it. I don't have
Oh,
it.
you don't
So-
have it? Oh, we're jealous. Oh.
Try not
think
to get
this
the
one-
reflection. There we go.
I don't think this one's come out in 50th anniversary yet that I'm aware of.
I don't think so.
Although
This is the 2007 remaster in 5.1.
Children's Children just came out and that was before it, so maybe it did.
The only thing that kind of ticks me off about this is this sticker is
Stuck
just
on there.
right on the.
Oh,
So it covers up the artwork. You can't see that kind of this funky
Yeah.
tree head that's growing out of a gas mask. Hey, how about that?
That's
Kind of in line with the
the
whole
channel.
theme here.
Yeah,
Shot of the band at the time.
yeah.
Michael Pinder looking like an angry, I don't know.
Father,
iPhone there.
probably. He looked like a father, angry father, or something like that.
So yeah, Threshold of a Dream. Where are my notes?
I don't know. Where are your notes?
This is the album that starts out with just like it starts and finishes with the same sort of atmospheric sound that was created, that if you pick up a seashell on the shore and put it up to your ear, that's the sound you hear. And that's how this album begins, goes into the poem in the beginning, which has that funky kind of response in it by a computer. Keep on thinking, friend, into lovely to see you again, my friend. Another kind of rocker to kick off the album. Dear Diary is kind of how's the best way to describe it? It's kind of a person talking about their ordinary day and their ordinary life, and how blah day-to-day living is, and how unfeeling this person that's singing and doing the narration at the end, where he just casually mentions that somebody dropped an H-bomb today, but it wasn't me or anyone I knew. Send Me No Wine is kind of another little ballad, upbeat. Who did this one?
Lodge, I think.
I think Lodge does that one, yeah. Didn't write down.
I guess I forgot to. I'll do it when I get to it, the details on it.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, Send Me No Wine, Share Our Love, kind of both in the same vein, I think, as far as the songwriting goes.
Yeah, they're not too exciting.
Yeah.
For me.
Never Comes the Day, though, is
Oh my God, that.
give just a little bit more, take a little bit less from each other tonight. I mean, words of wisdom to any relationship, really. Lazy Day, another, commentary on life, that talking about, Sunday afternoons sitting around watching the game on TV and talking about what must be for dinner, because must be beef because lamb was last week. And on the on the outro of that, it's like an overdubbed on it is the lines that this is how your life goes by until the day you die. Kind of
Yeah,
rinse, lather, repeat.
fatalistic.
Yeah. So, and then the Dream, that poem, which has the line on a threshold of the dream before it goes into Have You Heard, which, oh my God, that is such just the way it's sung. It's Pinder's song, I think. And it goes into The Voyage, which is the first instrumental that the band members ever did. Then it goes back into Have You Heard? And again, with that pan-pot tracking during the percussion on Have You Heard, you can just, if you got headphones on, you're just hearing this shaker going from ear to ear.
Right.
So it's just, oh my gosh, it's just a mix. And again, that lush sound, like very evident in this album. But it's, I wouldn't put it on the same level as, Lost Chord, which I had for years. Put it up there with the two of them. And those two were like, but after reviewing these albums again, I've changed my mind on that. So I give this one a 9.
Well, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
That was weird. My whole screen went black.
Oh,
Very odd. Okay.
okay.
Well, you ready, Ryan?
Yeah, we're all here.
Yep. All right. I didn't write much. One word. Perfect.
Wow. That's
I
it,
cannot
huh?
believe I said it. I think, literally, it was all the way up to, I think, Never Comes the Day where it really, hit me how amazing this is. And I didn't really think, well, what's going on? And as I was listening to all of that, including the final 5 tracks, which I feel like are connected. I think, what is there? Are You Sitting Comfortably? The Dream. Have you heard of that instrumental? And heard part 2. I started to think, oh my God, this is the first time a 60s album for me gets a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, I absolutely love this album. It's absolutely perfect.
You sound almost convinced that it's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. I am totally convinced. 100%.
All right. I like the enthusiasm, man.
So do I.
Very good. Very good. You guys are not going to like me. This is probably my least favorite of the 70s albums, man. I'll get into it here.
It's not even 70.
Came out April, the 70. I call them the 70s album because the bulk of them came out in the 70s. But I guess we'll call them the Classic 7 period. There we go.
The Classic 7, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this comes out April 25th, 69 in the UK, and May 30th in the US, 69. Recorded at Decca Studios, again on Durham, and again Tony Clark. That's all the same stuff all the way up to Octave, I believe. So this album begins with a poem accompanied by electronic sounds, and these sounds appear at the close of the album. Most European vinyl pressings of the album continue the sounds into the album's runout groove, causing them to play continuously until the record player's tone arm is lifted. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that. Tape and CD versions of the albums employ a slow fade. On the Threshold was released, we said the release dates, and provided the Moody Blues with their first British #1 album, and also boosted their American fortunes by becoming the first top 20 album there. It proved to be one of the group's more enduring records in the U.S., staying in the Billboard LP charts for more than 2.5 years. The album, along with the subsequent To Our Children's Children, was among the tapes carried by Apollo 15 astronaut Al Worden to the moon. In the beginning, weird intro. If I'm honest, it kind of bugs me. I don't like that intro. It's what, 2.5 minutes, right? Somewhere in that range?
What, the poem?
Yeah, what's it say on the back of your... How long's that intro track?
I'll tell you. 2 minutes, 7 seconds.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 7 seconds.
So is it 2 minutes, 7 seconds long for you?
No, it just seems kind of, I don't know. I know their whole trip is we're going to start words with a spoken thing and a bit of a sound collage. We're going to end things with a spoken word, and that's cool. I have no problem with that. But I just felt like this one was kind of, I don't know, kind of pointless. But lovely to see you, Hayward. Super groovy radio rocker. Great guitar licks. Great vocals. Really like that track. Dear Diary. Quirky and weird and super cool. I love it. It's kind of trippy and has that British, oddly engaging cool to it. And that's a Thomas track. I'm 99% sure. Yep. Send Me No Wine. Here's where things don't go well. Send Me No Wine is okay. It's weirdly, it sounds like a country and western song. It's got like a country vibe to it, and it's like, what is that? Like, it's just kind of weird. Not a fan. To Share Our Love, very basic rocker, doesn't do much for me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So deep within you, man. Oh. Okay. I said I was going to go there, so I'm going to go there. Mike Pinder is the weakest vocalist in this band, in my opinion. He's got a voice that's very monotonish, monotonous in a way. And I'm not saying he's a bad singer. I'm just saying he's the one that doesn't jive with me as well. And this song, So Deep Within You, man, it's just cringy. His vocals sound weird. The lyrics are weird. Yeah, it's a ballad, but man, it's just cringy weird. Okay. The good news is, Never Comes a Day. That's a big radio type ballad, big chorus, catchy plus orchestrations, even some harmonica buried deep in the mix.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of a country sound to it, but it's good country. Lazy Days, cool, mellow, bucolic English sounding tune, gorgeous harmonies, really cool vocal arrangements. That's the one that does all the
Yeah.
Excuse me, I swallowed some spit.
Your parents' music.
Yeah. Yeah. Your parents' music, right? Love that one. Are You Sitting Comfortably? Cool, psych, acoustic, quirky track, interludish, The Dream, swirling mellotron, spoken word. That's a cool one. It's mostly an instrumental till the end. Have you heard part 1? Cool acoustic, short track, very cool vocals, mellotron, keys, parts of a song cycle, because it's part 1, and then the Voyage is the instrumental part thing in the middle there with it's just mellotron insanity on that song. It's so killer.
Mellotron and I think oboe and cello.
Super killer track. Amazing instrument.
Yeah.
And then it wraps with a reprise of Have You Heard part 2? Yep, really good. So this one has some really cool stuff on it from Lazy Days onward on side 2. I really like it. Are You Sitting? Dear Diary. Lovely to See You. But there's a couple duds on there for me, man. Those are skipper tracks. Like if I went back to listen to this, I'd listen to it one more time. And I'd be like, yeah, I'd either think I was way off, or else I'd think, yeah, you were right, and I think I'm right. For me, I'm only going a 7.5 out of 10, guys. Sorry, I know Ryan's like, what?
Oh,
you're giving my perfect 10 out of 10 a 7.5? What? Shit happens, right? Shit happens.
Yeah. We can't all agree. Life would be boring if we did.
That's true. It would be.
Yeah.
Only real blemish on this one for me is Pinder's So Deep. Yeah, that song just ugh. And I really don't like the 2 tracks before it. And I like those guys' tracks generally, but not on this one, man. It just doesn't work for me. So, okay, next up what do we have next up?
Children's.
There we go.
Children's,
All right, Ryan,
children.
you ready to tackle this one, buddy? Let me do some quick data on it. Came out November 21st, 69.
Second album of 69.
What?
Second album of 1969.
Second album,
2 albums that year.
Which is crazy, but now keep in mind, though, I don't really know that they were doing a whole lot of touring on the back of these albums, were they?
I have to look it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't know. That's something I didn't really school myself in. But so the 5th album released November 69, while the extracted single, Watching and Waiting, did not do well in the market. To Our Children's Children was critically well received and sold well, reaching number 2 in the UK album chart, number 14 in the US, their best showing yet in that country. Gypsy of a Strange and Distant Time became a fan, an album-oriented rock radio favorite, despite never being released as a single, and remained in the band's concert set list through the 70s. The album was mixed and released, both stereo and quadraphonic. Well, there you go. It said through the 70s they're touring. The album was the first released on the group's newly formed Threshold record label, which is their imprint through Decca. In the opening track, Higher and Higher, sound effects of a rocket launching begin the song and last for the first minute. The album was one of those listened to on cassette tape by the crew of Apollo 15 in 71. The album's lushly produced sound meant that the Moody Blues were only able to perform Gypsy live at the time of its release, leading to a creative decision to strip back the production of their next album, A Question of Balance, so that they could perform more of its contents on stage. Higher and Higher. Oh, you go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Obviously, I think, yeah, the whole thing with it being loosely about the Apollo stuff that were going on at the time. I like this just as much, not as better than the previous one, but I was like, holy shit, literally another, at least to me, another 10 out of 10. I actually did enjoy this album quite a lot, and it's like, it's just as great as On a Threshold, but not as great, but it's still just as perfect as Threshold.
What if I told you it's way better than Threshold?
No, it can't be.
Oh, it can be. It is. To me.
But they're equal. They're very much equal to me.
All right, good deal. What do you got, Chuck?
Well, again, I got the 2007 remastered and 5.1 surround. It looks like is that a Queen band group shot there?
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty damn cool.
So
Queen, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Queen kind of stole that, didn't it?
it looks like it, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
See how they influence other bands they follow?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and I know you said it earlier, Jeff, but this album was dedicated to the Apollo 11 crew or mission. So, and it was played on Apollo 15 that went up into space. I think that's pretty damn cool that those astronauts were able to hear Moody Blues in space. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the ground that are trying to get to space using peyote and LSD and stuff, trying to listen to this music. So these guys actually did it. And yeah, and higher. It's, it's their special effects rocket launch in there with the spoken word by Pinder. And again, Pinder, he was used on Graham Edge's poetry, like on going back to Days of Future Past. I always thought forever that was Graham reading that or reciting that. It wasn't. It was Pinder reciting that.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
They chose Pinder, or Edge made the comment about Pinder because, his voice was as a result of smoking too many cigarettes and drinking whiskey. So he had the better voice for it, I guess. But anyway, Eyes of the Child, great song. And that's Eyes of the Child Part 1, which I did not know there was 2 parts to that until I got this album. Excuse me. The next song, Floating, is kind of like, this is a Thomas song. It's kind of the whimsical Thomas again, showing up, talking about vacationing to the moon, through space, and talking about weightlessness and stuff like that. Some said that it was some coded words in the song for drug use. I don't know. I have to talk to my older brothers about that, see if they were using rock and candy as drug references with their dealers back in the day. But
yeah, that's good. Actually, that's a good question there.
I think rock and candy is more crack. Like crack cocaine,
Which I doubt that back then it was around at that point.
I don't think it was even around then. Yeah. So, and then you go in the track, Thought Eyes of the Child Part 2, which is, and then Hayward does a little acoustic thing with I Never Thought I'd Live to Be 100. And they go into Beyond instrumental. So a second instrumental the band has done. It's kind of a weird one where it's kind of like upbeat and then it kind of sinks down really slow and goes into this weird kind of space and then kind of goes back up again. It's like it's kind of starts and stops again kind of thing. Inconsistent in my mind. Gypsy, like you said, it was a favorite. It's a decent song. Eternity Road. It's okay. The song that I really like on this, outside the Watching and Waiting, Eyes of the Child, my third favorite is Candle of Life.
Great song.
It's a great song in that, yeah. And just again, the fills and the harmonies that these guys
just
it would just it's just insane how good these guys were. Dare I say better than the Beatles, and then we get
talk about like the Eagles having incredible harmonies, which they do.
They do.
But this is a different kind of harmony, but it might be better actually. Yeah,
it's you know what it is. It's the harmonies in the Queen's English. I think that's the difference between.
There you go.
Between the Brits and the English, or the Americans, I should say. And then Watching and Waiting. What a great song that is. It's just, again, Hayward, just the way he brings and evokes, kind of steers your soul with his voice, and the range that he has. It's just. Yeah, again, one of my favorite songs, Watching and Waiting. So, I give this one 9. 9 out of 10. I enjoyed this album. It was fun to rediscover this. And again, the percussion on this in some of these songs is just outstanding.
Yeah. So, like, it's weird. I think I had some. I say I think because I can't remember. I'm pretty sure I had quite a few of these CDs back in the 80s and 90s. But I think somewhere along the line I got into that. Oh, I don't listen to them anymore, so I'll get rid of them. Okay, mistake by me. But I then decided, well, I don't know when it was. I think I heard about the the 50th anniversary, which, by the way, I own Days of Future Past. I have the MoFi, the Mobile Fidelity Gold Disc, which crazy story about that is that I was working at my job at AutoZone one day back a while back. This is when I used to work there, probably 2017, something like that. And I was the assistant manager, and the manager walked in, and he's like, "Hey, you're really into like music. You always have millions of CDs on you when you come into work. What is any of this stuff? Do you want any of this stuff in here?" And he pulls this box out, and he fucking unloads this box, and it's full of like Yes, Moody Blues, Genesis, Marillion, Rush, all these CDs. Now, granted, a lot of them looked like they'd seen better days, i.e., they weren't well kept.
Yeah.
Cases were cracked and CDs were scuffed, but they still played. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, what are you going to do with them? And right away, the one that catches my eye is a Mobile Fidelity. You guys know what those are? MoFi?
No.
Okay, so the MoFis are like these high-resolution gold discs that they use. They're actually discs that are covered with a gold flake or like a gold coating to adhere the digital emulsion better or something like that. And they're allegedly at that time they were the highest sound quality possible, right? But what's unique about them is that they only issued them in limited quantities. So, and a lot of it was like classics, like Court of the Crimson King, Yes shows, that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Close to the edge. And I'd never seen this Moody Blues Days of Future Past. I'm looking at it, and I go back in the back, I pull up Discogs, I'm like, woo, what? It's worth like $150, right? Or something crazy, $125. I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna get a hold of that.
Yeah.
I walk out, I'm like, so Josh, what's your plan with these? You keeping this, or what are you gonna do? He's like, well, I don't know. I guess I thought about maybe throwing them on eBay. I'm like, there's a couple. I mean, a lot of these are pretty beat up, man, and they're really probably not worth. You're not gonna get a lot of money for them. But you might get a couple bucks. But I tell you what, this one here, this Moody Blues one, is one I don't have. How about I give you like $8 for it? Yeah, sure. So I still have that Moody Blues MoFi, and I don't know what it's worth in the condition it is. Might only be worth $50 or $60, but still. And I wanted it because I wanted it, not because.
Yeah, sure you have it. Where is it? You're not showing it here.
I can't find it. It's here. It's in one of my boxes. I was too lazy to go digging.
Yeah, good story.
Well, you guys all had the stuff. I have it. Why would I lie about that? You know better than that.
Yeah, I know.
So
interesting. That was on an actual gold disc then.
Yeah, here, let me show you. You've seen these in the wild.
Well,
let me put it this way.
In the trading groups that I belong to, one of the most desirable discs to trade and to get and receive was I think it was Kodak that made a gold disc back in the day, early 2000s.
All right, here.
So I wonder if it was the same technology on those discs as it was using that MoFi.
It could be. I really don't know what. I don't know what the technology is. I'm not. Here we go. There you go. Where are you, actually? What the fuck? There we go. All right, let me pull this up a minute here. And I go here, and I go share screen. Can you guys see that?
No, just see your face.
Oh, here we go.
You see that original master recording?
Yeah.
So it says $30 on here, but I have no idea how old this posting is here. That's not really the one. Oh, wait, that's not the one I want to show you. Here it is. All right, here you go. Well, there it says they're only $26. So they've gone way down, I guess. But still, that's what it looks like. And then the inside is, you got that on the back. That's what the disc looks like. It's literally a gold disc. Again, I'm not a super audiophile, so I don't know what. But, I got it for $8, so I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I would be too.
But, yeah, so what? It's my turn for. Are we done with Children's?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Higher and Higher. Super cool, trippy, psyche opener with tons of lush synth, mellotron, spoken word about the Apollo landing. I think there's a lot of cool 60s guitar riffs in there. I love that one. Eyes of a Child, beautiful ballad, super lush with tons of overdub orchestration, so killer. Floating, very pretty. Ray Thomas was a masterful writer of this kind of sweet English-sounding ballad. Sweet, calming. His voice was probably the most Brit-sounding of all.
Yeah, I agree.
Eyes of a Child 2, cool reprise. Stacked vocals are amazing on this one. That's the one where he says, oh, no, I never thought I'd live to be 100. That's a really cool acoustic-y short. It's too short. I kind of want it to be longer, and I know they give you a little taster later, but I kind of want it to be a longer track. But it's kind
of like Pigs on the Wing and the Animals album.
Yeah. Beyond, cool mellotronist instrumental interlude. Out and In, super cool, mellow, rocky, proggy, lush, super catchy. Love this one. The mellotron on this is exquisitely killer. That's a Pinder track. Out and In is really, really amazing. Really good. Gypsy, the rocker on the album, very atmospheric and cool as fuck. Man, Hayward was on such a roll with these kind of rocky acoustic bass tracks. You know what I mean? Like he was just on a roll. Every album had one of these or two of these that were just super cool fucking songs.
Well, it's like, Seesaw, and then
right,
Lovely to See You,
or Nights in White Satin, or the one on the last one. What was the one? Yeah, what was the one on the last album? Yeah,
not there yet.
Lovely to See You, right? Yeah, Lovely to See You.
That's on Children's. That we were just, or they were on. I'm sorry, Lovely to See You was on Threshold.
Yeah, I'm going back. I'm going back to look at the songs he had. Voices in the Sky. Just these gorgeous acoustic bass rockers or ballads that just are incredible. Let's see, and then where are we at? I'm at Gypsy. Oh yeah, and the thing I wanted to note about that is that this song Gypsy has kind of a Nights in White Satin vibe because of the mellotrons, but unlike Crimson's use of the mellotron, Moody Blues always used the mellotron for sort of almost like a heavenly, spiritual, beautiful sound, whereas Crim always used it to be menacing and sort of
that's true,
dark, and like on Starless or even on Court of the Crimson King, it's like da 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 da. It's like this fucking whoa. This is scary shit, right?
Yeah. And you're right. It's more of a again lush, uplifting sound to it.
Uplifting.
And the fact that he's soloing with that, keyboard mellotron solos.
Not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's just
the other thing is though too, we didn't note it that Pinder apparently modified his mellotron and took out all like the funky sounds, like the whistles and the bells and he put more synth, not synth,
strings and orchestral instruments into it.
So it was like literally like this wall of sound coming at you from that perspective. Eternity Road, man, I love another killer Ray Thomas track, so epic and proggy, full of mellotron, insane vocal melodies. Candle Life, another banger, lush mellotron, Hayward and Lodge vocal melodies are stellar. The grand piano throughout is amazing as well. So is the big and epic sounding chorus. Sun is Still Shining, probably my least favorite track on there, but it's still a good one. Very
it's got kind of got a raga outro to it, kind of an Indian influence to it.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Mellow Yellow from Donovan.
Ah,
Call me Mellow Yellow. It's got that weird,
yeah.
quite rightly sort of vibe to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I never thought Reprise. Kind of weird to only have 34 seconds, but whatever. And then Watching and Waiting, which is a beautiful melancholic ballad, mostly orchestral and piano based. Hayward's painfully aching vocals and acoustic guitar are most of the track, and then drums near the end. But it's you get some synth and some keys, lots of Mellotron driven. It's mostly synth, keyboard, and Mellotron driven. Super gorgeous. This is a stunning album. I forgot how good this album is. Like, I forgot. It's a return to form over Threshold, which I don't find as good as you guys do. The complexity, for me, it's the complexity of layers of instruments, the overdubbing, not dumbing, overdubbing.
Overdubbing.
Yeah, performing these tracks live was probably almost impossible at the time.
Yeah.
You didn't have a computer. You needed like 3 keyboard players. This is, what this album is to me? It's majestic sounding. And I give it a 10 out of 10. Again, now I did give a 7.5 on the last one. So, and they start to trend a little bit down from here, slightly, but not a lot. So,
Yeah.
all
Also,
right, what do we got?
just real briefly too on the artwork, you got like this hieroglyphics or not hieroglyphics. You have like cave art, right?
Right.
And there's a figure there holding a gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alongside of like a.
I didn't notice that.
Let's see if I can bring it up here. There's a couple of interesting things going on. That might attribute to the space travel.
Oh, yeah.
But right there is right over here. There's a figure holding a gun next to this animal, and then there's some sort of like I don't know, some sort of weird ruins going on there too. Like
I had never owned that one, so I never seen it real close up close and personal. I'll have to look at that after we're done.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, Boogie, we're I see you for sure. We're getting to we'll do the rankings at the end then. Where are we at? What number was that? Number 5?
That was number
5. No,
5. Yeah.
5, yeah. Okay, we're moving pretty good here. There's
4.
1 or 2 of these down towards the end I won't have as much to say about. Okay, so we're up to question of balance. Okay. Oops. I'm having some issues here. Go ahead, Ryan. Real quick. That came out August 70 on Threshold. Tony Clark again, Decca Studios.
Not much I can say about this. Fun, catchy. It's kind of I guess to me when I was listening to this is kind of like a little bump in the road. So it's like it's got some good catchy stuff, but it's like I said, there's some hits and there's some misses. So I'm probably at 9.5. I do like this one.
What tracks do you like? You have any tracks you like?
Ooh, that is. I'm trying to remember.
I mean, the opening track. Come on, man.
Question. I did like that one. What else is there that I kind of liked? I liked the ballad. There were a couple. I think Minstrel's Song was one of those I did like.
The Minstrel Song was a good one.
That it?
Yep.
Well, you took me seriously on this keep it brief thing, didn't you?
Yep. I decided to keep it brief. I'm like,
all right, okay, all right.
Brevity can be your friend. So
yeah.
Yep.
Here we go. Again, sticker right on the cover of the freaking CD.
Okay.
So this was this has the album, or this album has the song, The Question, which is the first song that I ever heard by the Moody Blues. The first song I ever remembered hearing. It's qualify that. I probably heard Moody's before, but The Question is on there. And again, this 1970, the band decided to what, Jeff? Strip it of its lush psychedelic sound so they can perform the songs better on stage when they went out on the road.
Which, by the way, if you're listening to this album carefully, it's still super layered.
It is. It really is.
Not that much. They strip it down for the next one a lot more than they do on this one, in my opinion.
But one thing that I noticed on this was that there you can hear Graham Edge's drumming, I think, a little bit more prominently.
You might be right about that.
Throughout the mix. So I think that had, that as a result of losing some of the lushness, some of the layers. In the question, actually, I think Hayward had 2 songs that he was working on at the time, and he just put them together, formed the song Question, and that's why you have that real slowdown in the middle of the song.
Mm-hmm. That I didn't know.
Yeah. So, but I have to say this was one of my favorite sing-along songs, singing the wrong lyrics to the song for decades before I realized that he wasn't saying the branching of the sea, he was saying the crashing of the sea, and not the grave of the morning. It was the gray of the morning. My mind becomes confused between the dead and the living and the road that I should choose. It's one of my all-time favorite songs, probably because it brings back a lot of nostalgia, but it has just, some great lyrics, really moves my head when I hear them. So yeah, that was just, fucking way to kick off the album. How is it we hear a Pinder song? It's okay. The Tide Rushes In, a Thomas song that, in my estimation, this little guitar solo that's on The Tide Rushes In is not very long at all, but it's just sublime. It's like probably the best acoustic guitar solo you're ever going to hear in your life, in my opinion. It's just beautiful. And I'm not sure if Lodge is strumming a cello in that song, or if it's the keyboards by Pinder plus the fills of the mellotron during that solo and throughout the whole song. It's just great. It's just sublime, like I said. And where am I? I just got lost in that. Don't You Feel Small? Don't have a whole lot to say about that. Tortoise and the Hare, kind of a fairy tale song there, but or reference, but not really a fairy tale song. Dawning of the Day kind of has like almost an intro that is found on the 7th Sojourn album, You and Me. It reminds me of that.
Yeah.
For some reason. So
yeah, I hear that too.
So I think what they did is maybe they heard something in this song and then created that You and Me later on, which more power to them if you can do that, Melancholy Man is, I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of a restrained. They could have done so much with that, made it bombastic and over the top, off the charts, whatever you want to call it. But I think they just the way that they played it and kept it in the confines of the song, it's just perfect. Some critic claims it's the 26th best progressive rock song ever. So I was listening to it again today, and it's like, how are they getting prog out of this? And it's like, okay, I can kind of see it, a little bit of the keyboards in it and so forth. But yeah. So yeah, the question and Tide Rushes In, a couple of just masterpieces as far as I'm concerned. Overall, I give it a 9.
Man, you're tough. You're a hard sell, man. No 10s out of you. No 10s out of you.
Nothing's perfect. You can't
me and Jimmy are like the 10 kings. You're like, nah.
Well, it's like you know what? I grew up in the 70s with gymnastics. I did gymnastics in the 70s. Watched Olga Korbut get the first 10 ever awarded. Right. It's like it was impossible to get a 10 in any sort of judge sport. And so I kind of take that to heart when I'm judging things. It's really hard to achieve perfection. So if I give it a 9, that's fucking really good.
That's good. That's good. I agree. All right, let me take some Advil here. I'm getting a massive headache. Okay. Yeah, this is supposed to be the album that they delushify it.
Yeah.
This album is an attempt by the group to strip down their previously lush psychedelic sound in order to better be able to perform the songs live in concert. The album reached #1 in the United Kingdom, '3 in the United States. In March 2006, the album was remastered into SACD format and repackaged with 6 extra tracks in 2008. A remaster for standard audio CD was issued with the same bonus track. Melancholy Man was covered by, I don't know, Gökhan Abur, former Turkish pop singer and present weatherman. I have no idea. I have no idea what that
I'd like to hear that version.
Yeah, I don't know, man. As you said, Pop Matters, Sean Murphy rated Melancholy Man as 26th best progressive rock song of all time, praising its restraint and saying it might be the best thing the band ever did. I don't know about that. I like it a lot, but I don't think I feel that way about it. Question, man, what a banger of a song. You know, Hayward's written a lot of these really killer, amazing songs like Forever Autumn and a song we're going to talk about coming up, which I'll hold off. But, you know, we talk about all these other ones like, you know, Voices in the Sky and Ride My Seesaw. And I mean, he's a great songwriter, man. He's a great way. He knows how to, like White Satin, he knows how to put parts of songs together. And this is, as you mentioned, you said it was 2 different songs, which I could believe, but it goes from the jamming section. You know, why do we never get an answer when we're knocking at the door? And then it hits the, you know, it's not the way that you say it when you do those things to me. It's more the way that you mean it when you tell me what will be. I'm looking for. It's like such an amazing collection of parts that add up to a stunning whole. Like you, it's one of my favorite Moody's tracks. If it's not my favorite, it's top 2 or 3.
With me hearing it the first time when I was 10 or 11 years old, you know, just what is life, you know, where am I going, what road am I on, and just hearing, you know, the lyrics out of the question is kind of like providing answers, you know, veiled answers. So
wait, how old were you when you heard that?
10 or 11.
Man, I was just learning how to masturbate at that point. But, you know, what do I know? I wasn't thinking on such grand scale.
You hit puberty when you were 3, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so it's a monster earworm of a track. Geez, the lyrics are stunning throughout. I mean, the lyrics are amazing. In fact, let's read a little bit of those real quick. Why do we never get an answer when we're knocking at the door with 1,000 million questions about hate and death and war? Because when we stop and look around, there is nothing that we need in a world of persecution that is burning in its greed. Why do we never get an answer when we're knocking at the door? Because the truth is hard to swallow. That's what the war of love is for. That's pretty cool. And then, you know, it's not the way that you say it when you do those things to me. It's more the way that you mean it when you tell me what will be. And when you stop and think about it, you won't believe it's true that all the love you've been giving has all been meant for you. I'm looking for someone to change my life. I'm looking for a miracle in my life. And if you could see what it's done to me, to lose the love I knew could safely lead me through. Between the silence in the mountains and the crashing of the sea, there lies a land I once lived in, and she's waiting there for me. But in the gray of the morning, wow, it's long. Well, I'll finish it up. But in the gray of the morning, and by the way, it is morning, never mind. My mind becomes confused between the dead and the sleeping and the road that I must choose. I'm looking for someone to change my life. I'm looking for a miracle in my life. And if you could see what it's done to me, to lose the love I knew could safely lead to me, the land that I once knew, to learn as we grow old the secrets of our souls. It's not the way that you say it when you do those things to me. It's more the way you really mean it when you tell me what will be. Why do we never get an answer when we're knocking at the door? Just amazing, amazing, amazing lyrics on that song. Not about masturbation, apparently. So
there's not asking, are you in there and warm? Which is what I always thought.
Well, there you go. Yeah, that's a little that would lend itself to the masturbation thing.
Okay.
How is it? Again, if this is supposed to be less lush, sure doesn't seem that way to me. It's super Mellotronian British sounding. Love it. The tide rushes in, a Thomas gem. As usual, lush and gorgeous. I just word that whole for this album. I kept using that. Don't you feel
Oh yeah.
small?
I mean, oh god, you can't say enough about.
Yeah,
Tide
you
Rush
can't.
Then.
Don't you feel small? Another stunner by Edge, who isn't a major contributor usually, but this one has a Latin proggy vibe and lots of flute.
Oh yeah, that's the one he whispers the lyrics in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Tortoise in the Hair, very 60s, 70s vibes. Lots of major harmonies over a very catchy, almost groovy, funky verse with amazing vocal layering all over the track. Stellar, cool, heavier, distorted guitar tones on that one. It's Up to You, great, sort of weirdly boogie rock meets prog rock. Hayward track with great vocal melodies and harmonies. Not one of Hayward's best, but it's still a very good track, especially the vocals and layering. Minstrel Song, a mellow rocker that has a lot of great vocal melodies and catchiness. It's my least favorite track. It's about a minute too long for me. It kind of repeats itself at the end a lot. Dawning is
I kind of overlooked that one.
Did you? Sorry.
Well, I like the. It's grown on me since I listened to it. I listened again today for like the 5th time. But I like the chanting that they do in that and the outro. It almost sounds like a campy song, but it's more.
Dawning is the Day, a really nice acoustic ballad from Hayward, very catchy, cool, but not in his top tier of songs. Melancholy Man, Mellotron heaven, man. It's just Mellotron heaven.
Yeah, no shit.
Mellotron on 10,000. It's just amazing. Sick, so lush, so gorgeous, stunning, and the melancholy is palpable. Has a bit of a hurdy-gurdy man to it. Hurdy-gurdy, 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 you said. It's got that kind of vibe to it where it just drifts. And the panning of the vocal recording and the vocals are amazing. The balance is spoken word, Graham Edge track, part of the I don't know what I was saying there. Can't make out what I was writing. Part of their trip, but not really necessary. I don't know. Although the atmospheric music behind the words is pretty cool. Lots of Mellotron and sampling of songs from on the album. If this was the album, they were scaling things back from a production standpoint. They didn't do very much scaling back. It's another brilliant album. So many killer tracks on it and no real low points, but I will say it's not quite at the level of my top 3. I give it a 9.5 out of 10, which is even better than you. So there you go.
1970. Also, I think I read something where Hayward was fooling around with some pedals and trying to create a little bit more fuzz on his guitar sound.
Well, he did that.
So I think he succeeded in that on this album.
All right, every good boy deserves favor.
Every good boy deserves.
Well, Chuck, we're on you. Go ahead and roll out with us.
All right.
Came out July 23rd, 1971. Again, Wessex studio for this instead of Decca, and again, Threshold and Tony Clark. The album features the only track to be written by all 5 members of the band. The opening, The Procession, was a piece that was intended to describe the history of music from the beginning of time until the album's recording. The only 3 words that you hear in this track are desolation, creation, and communication. Were similarly used in One More Time to Live. The album reached number 1 on the British charts, in addition to a 3-week stay at number 2 in the U.S. charts. Produced 1 top 40 single, The Story in Your Eyes. The track Emily's Song was written by John Lodge for his newborn daughter. Mike Pinder wrote and sang the album's concluding track, My Song. The title is taken from the mnemonic for the lines of the treble clef, E, G, B, D, F. These notes are heard played in the piano during Procession. The album was the last to feature the Mellotron as a sole tape-driven instrument. It would be utilized in conjunction with the Chamberlain, another device that uses recorded tape to generate sound. I didn't look them up. The album was mixed and released in both stereo and quadraphonic, and in April 2007, the album was remastered into SACD and repackaged with 2 extra tracks. So go ahead.
Yeah, the Every Good Boy Deserves Favor was something that was taught to me by my mom when she was teaching me piano lessons.
Yep.
And I flashed on that when I read exactly what you just said there. I've been seeing this title of this album forever, and it just never clicked until this week when I was listening to this. So, yeah. Yeah, and it opens up with Procession, which I find very interesting that it goes, it's almost like a sequence where it goes through one instrument into another type of instrument, into another type of instrument. You know, it's percussion, it goes into a chant, then you hear some sitar, some tablas, and then some horror organ, as I called it. So you hear some organ, mellotron, harpsichord, flute, goes into guitar. So it's like every member had a little turn on that one.
Yeah, they did.
And then that Desolation, which again was found later on another song, is in there too, as far as the vocals go. That was it as far as the vocals. Where am I? And then it goes in The Story of Your Eyes, another ripper song.
Banger.
And again, the short but sweet guitar solo by Hayward, and then the piano outro on that. Fucking great rocker song. And then we go into a Thomas song, Our Guessing Game, and the vocal harmonies. Again, the 4-part on this is just astounding. You know, again, this is what these guys became known as, in my mind. Emily's song, like you said, was Lodge's contribution in honor of his daughter being born. After You Came, all four again are singing this song. And it reminds me of And You Can Fly chords, guitar chords in it for some reason. And Nice to Be Here. My notes on that. It's another Thomas song. And then it goes into You Can Never Go Home, which is a little bit of that fuzz guitar I was saying earlier that Hayward was working with. You can see it evident in this song, You Can Never Go Home. And then My Song by Pinder, another mellotron breath drone solo in this thing. Is just, oh God, another mellotron immersed, soaked song.
Sure.
Good, steady album. I give it 8.5.
8.5. All right. What you got, Ryan?
Oh, I can agree with you on all those things, Chuck. All except for probably all except for the score, because I absolutely love this a lot, and they pick it right back up, basically, from where To Our Children's Children left off. It's I can say this. It's their third 10 out of 10.
Man, he's going crazy. The boy is on fire.
Yeah,
right
in my
on.
opinion, yeah. 10 out of 10. Everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We found the band that Ryan really likes, I think.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's going to carry the torch, you know?
Yeah.
You're going to carry that torch after we're gone.
Yeah, it's great, man. I'm excited that you're excited about this. So
Absolutely.
It's weird. I was just doing. Hold on, I was taking my blood pressure because I've got a scary headache right now. I was doing the notes and I'm like, that doesn't. Let's see. That's weird. That's a weird set of notes. E, G, B, D, F. Huh. I'll have to listen to the song and see if I hear those piano notes being played. I don't remember them standing out to me because it's kind of dissonant. It doesn't resolve right. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's the every good boy does fine thing.
Every good boy does fine.
Yeah.
Or
Every good
deserves
boy
favor.
Deserves
But it was just a trick to learn the piano keys.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So I'm gonna hit this up here. Starts with Procession. Not my thing. It's kind of bloated and goes on too long. It doesn't say a lot for me. Yeah, there's the sitars and the flutes and the fragments and the vignettes, but it seems like it's really disjointed. Like it's a lot of shit just thrown into a.
It's like a prog song.
Yeah, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
No.
Story in Your Eyes, man. That's a killer riff-driven song by Hayward. Love the track. You know, that's the one where he does that down, and listen to the tide slowly turning, wash all our heartaches away. We are part of a fire that is burning. From the ashes we can build another day.
And then when he goes down, his vocal
but I'm
range,
frightened for your children. Yeah, you're great. Our guessing game, big epic proggy Ray Thomas track. I love that song, man. I love almost all his songs. A couple later ones get a little bit too goofy for me, but this one is another brilliant one, and the guitar riffs on here are great. The leads are perfect for the track. Emily's song is a nice atmospheric ballad that's nice, but not a favorite. After You Came, a heavy rocker for the Moodies. Pretty cool track with hard rock guitars, even a pretty ripping guitar solo, which you don't hear that often on them.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of big epic orchestrations. Love that one. One More Time to Live. Man, I love this track.
Yeah, I kind of skipped over that. I forgot to mention.
Track. Huh?
I skipped over that. Yeah, it was actually a track that's like, it was like the first time I heard it, and it's grown on me.
It's so good.
It is. It's really one of the.
It's huge sounding, massively prog, but it still has a good bedrock of basic chords that make it solid. The vocals and layering and harmonies are all killer. Desolation, revelation, absolution. Yeah, although it drags a little bit. It could be a little bit shorter, that's all. Nice to Be Here, an acoustic ballad that sounds like something I've heard many times before, but I can't place it. Nice tune, but nothing special. Probably my first Thomas track that I was kind of a bit oh-hum about. You Can Never Go Home, huge rocker with lots of orchestrations and tons of vocal layering on the choruses. Really great song. I'd forgotten, as it's not one of the top tracks that you think about, but it should have been a real big radio song.
Mm-hmm.
My song, sort of Melancholy Man Part 2. Huge layered, amazing track. Not as good as Melancholy Man for me, but close. Lots of crazy mellotron and orchestrations and proggy movements. For a 6-minute song, it's really, really cool. I like the bulk of this album. Obviously, Story in Your Eyes is a massive track. Guessing Game is great. One More Time to Live, Never Go Home, all standouts, but slips a little bit from balance. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 on this. Still, is it necessary for the collection? If you're into Moody Blues, yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to own it.
Yeah.
But is it one of their elite records? Probably not in the top 3 or 5. Probably not in the top 5 for me, but close. It's close. All right, we're on 7th Sojourn. Go ahead, Ryan.
I unfortunately do not. I unfortunately do not.
All right, I think Chuck has that one, right?
Oh, you know I do.
There he is.
Oh.
Again, the 2007 release, remaster 5.1. And this is the last artwork that you're going to see by Phil Travers. He kind of goes away. Yeah, the band kept him around for these 6 of these albums. Yeah, these 6 albums, and much to the chagrin of Decca didn't want him because he was too expensive, but the band insisted. So I kind of like the fact that they kept him around. It kind of continues the. It adds like a little bit of continuity, I think, to the artwork too.
Well, it's like the Yes artwork or the
like Roger Dean,
Hypnosis Floyd artwork.
Yep.
You kind of get into a trend, and then somewhere along the line, you go, okay, let's try something new. Once you're that far along in the two, so I kind of get it. Yeah. Go ahead.
So the 7th album. It's kind of like in the name of the album itself, 7th Soldier. It's 7th album since these guys were together. 8th album overall. And when I say that, I mean when when Hayward and Lodge joined the band, this is their 7th album that they put out. It kicks off with Lost in a Lost World. This is a Pinder song, and it kind of reminds me of of a song that came out on Long Distance Voyager. So again, it's maybe they had an idea that they got off of this tune and then rewrote it, rearranged it, whatever, and recorded another song later on, 2 albums later. New Horizons, a Hayward song. What a great song this is. The lyrics, the percussion on this, the mellotron strings. Great tune. For My Lady, another great song. Again, this is Thomas. And his flute on this, that's it. The flute is another great work by him, another solo on this. And then they have the outro of the band all singing together, dum 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 dum, or bum 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 bum. And then Isn't Life Strange? What a great tune that is. It starts off really slow and then builds up and builds up and builds up. The harmonies on that is just incredible again. And the guitar work. It's like one of my favorite songs. Then it goes into You and Me, which has a long kind of repetitive intro. And then Hayward's voices come in and starts setting this scene of a leafless tree in Asia. Under the sun is a homeless man. There's a forest fire in the valley where the story all began. And then it goes into the next verse. And this I can totally see GIs in Vietnam who are listening to this music, having a conversation, and it's just would go like, what would be our last thought? Do you think it's coming soon? Will it be of comfort or the pain of a burning wound? I mean, those are pretty fucking deep lyrics, man.
Yeah.
That these guys, how old were they when they're writing this stuff?
Well, yeah, he's 77 now.
So 72, 50 years ago, 27 years old.
Even, I don't even, was he? Yeah.
He's 77 now. So
he's 77.
Yeah, this came out in 72. So
50 years. Yeah. So
about 50 years.
Late 20s. So he's a kid. He's my age, my kid's age.
Yeah. So imagine writing lyrics like that. So
yeah.
You and Me, what a song. Land of Lake Maneve, the Land of Make Believe, another Hayward tune. It's got another great set of vocals in there where he's talking about, open up all your shutters on your windows, unlock all the locks on your doors, brush away the cobwebs on your daydreams. It's just fucking great lyrics. Pinder song up next, When You're Free Man. I don't have a whole lot to say about that for some reason. And then Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band, another cracker of a tune.
Yeah, bad.
3-part harmony. And they say they wrote the song because a lot of their fans were looking to the band as these philosophers, these seers, these visionaries, and they were just singers in a rock and roll band. So it was kind of like setting their fan base straight. So,
dudes, we just are in it for the chicks. That's it, man.
Yeah,
the chicks and the drugs and the money.
So that's the Grateful Dead. They started growing their hair long, and after they saw the Beatles movie Help, and they said, "We're doing the wrong thing here. We got to grow our hair long and play electric instruments."
Yep, exactly.
That changed it for them. So Seven Sojourn, a stellar album. I give it a 10.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Chuck is setting the bar high, Ryan.
I'm like, I agree with him. Everything he said, I agree with him. 10 out of 10 again. I agree. Like, it's easily, I agree with everything he said. Like,
Ryan, next time I have you on Deep Dive, just to have a sign. It's either a 10 or a 9 or an 8. Don't say anything. Just hold a sign up. I'm kidding you.
Look,
or you could just hold a sign up saying, or you could just bring a sign that says, I agree 100% with what Chuck says.
That would only work when I'm on the dives with you guys. So you can just cross out my name and put in Jeff's name and write it in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A little 3x5 card.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
One of those dry erase boards. Just get a dry erase board.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So, any favorite tracks?
Oof.
Uh-oh.
Let's see. He mentioned so many. I do like. I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. Oh Jesus. I think there might be a handful, but I can't remember a good chunk of them. I do have to. That might be a time where maybe after all this, I might have to go back and listen to that again. There's several I need to go back and listen to.
He
again.
spent 3 days listening. He can't remember any of the songs. Come on.
Quickly. Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
it's just like there's so many good songs. It's easy to overlook.
Yeah.
I've been doing it all night here. I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this song. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's so many of them.
Boogie says, if there's not already a doom metal cover of Lost in a Lost World, there should be. That's a
I
good
remember.
one, man.
I remember seeing that. Like, is it just a coincidence that it's kind of similar to the Iron Maiden song?
I was just going to say, Iron Maiden has a song
Yeah,
title
it's
just
like,
about
I was
like
like-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like,
That's
dude,
the new
I was
album,
like-
right? That's the
yeah,
new
the
album.
new one,
Yeah.
Senjutsu. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I have some thoughts on this one. I'm not as glowing as Chuck, which he's probably like, fuck you. But anyway, so where are we at here? Where to go? Whoa! Get up there, silly. All right, so this is the seventh by this particular lineup, as Chuck said. It's actually their eighth album, but it's
Seventh with
seventh with the classic
Hayward and Lodge in it.
Right. It was recorded at Decca. Oh, wait. Yeah, Decca. They're back at Decca here on Tollington Park in North London, released 72. It was released, by the way, I didn't give you that, October 23rd, 1972 in the UK and November 17th, almost a month later in the States, interestingly. Believe this is the last one for Clark, or did he do the next one yet?
This is the last one with Clark, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
It reached number 5 in the United Kingdom and became the band's first American chart topper, spending 5 weeks at number 1 to close out 72. 2 hit singles, Isn't Life Strange, 13 in the UK, 29 in the US, and I'm Just Singing a Rock and Roll Band, number 36 in the UK, number 12 in the US. However, both songs were overshadowed by the re-release of Nights in White Satin, which had been first released in 67, and whereas both singles from Seventh Sojourn made the top 40, Nights in White Satin bested both by hitting 9 in the UK and number 2 in the US. And that would have probably been around where I think I heard Nights.
Okay.
Maybe 70. Well, no, that was 72. I'd have been 6. I don't know that I remembered it.
Yeah,
from back
that's-
then. Maybe. Number 2 was the highest they ever got as far as a Moody Blues single. Record World rated I'm Just a Singer and Land of Make Believe as Dynamite Cuts. As this album proved difficult to record with a 73 follow-up, quickly shelved after inception, the group decided to go on a hiatus after their tour of Asia in 74, Mike Pinder's last tour with the group, before reuniting in 77 for Octave, which came out in 78, and the subsequent tour without Pinder. So Lost and Lost World. I'm not in love with this track. I know you might be, and some people that are big Moody's fan might be. But again, I go back to the fact that I always felt like Pinder was the worst singer in the band. And it shows here, in my opinion. It's kind of weak vocally. I think it would have been a much better song had Hayward sung it. Just saying.
Mhm.
But a lot of these guys, when they wrote their songs, they sang their songs. New Horizons, very solid track, but it drags a bit, to be honest. I like it, but it felt sort of like it was limping to the end. For My Lady, whimsical ballad, and hurdy-gurdy or accordion is a novel idea. It's a nice song, but it's not amazing. Isn't Life Strange? Man, that one dragged on forever. Like and that was a big song for them, and I'm like, what? Really? Like, this song is going on and on and on and on and on. Stop! But it gets better from there. You and Me, cool guitar riffs on this one, some cool playing by Hayward. This one is a great Hayward track for sure. That chorus is awesome. Has a very 60s San Fran vibe, clearly, because that's what it was about. and the Lush Chamberlain does a great job of replacing the Mellotron.
Yeah, I was going to say that the Mellotron's not on this. The Chamberlain's on this.
Well, now they said it was the last album was the one that they used just the Mellotron exclusively for. That's what I read.
I think this had the Chamberlain on it.
Well, look in your liner notes. See if it's listed as Mellotron and under Pinder. It might be. You might be right.
Yeah, I will.
Land of Make Believe, super killer, epic Hayward track, really gorgeous, massive sounding. Love the Land of Make Believe. Probably my favorite song on that. Although the next one, When You're a Free Man, is a super cool, lush Pinder track, very moody, atmospheric, cool heavy guitars on this one. Lots of guitar. Almost has a cinematic quality, a lot of soloing on it. Cool layering with the Chamberlain and orchestration and the vocal harmonies. Might be my favorite. This one has
a. No, go ahead.
Yeah, this one, Land of Make Believe. And then I'm Just a Singer, man. It's a kick-ass rocking song, man. I mean, how could you not get into that song, you know? I'm just a singer in a rock and roll band. And
it's I think it's the first time you used trumpet.
Was it?
I think so. You haven't heard trumpet in any of their other songs.
Okay.
Heard a little bit of harmonica in one of those earlier tracks you mentioned. Yes. And I think this is the first time I've heard trumpet being used.
What's it say about Mellotron?
It definitely stands out.
Does it say anything about the Mellotron?
No, where they actually somebody's playing a trumpet here. I'm trying to find it in my liner notes here.
Well, I was going to say in your liner notes should say what Pinder is playing.
It should, but it's not finding it here.
Okay, where am I at here? This album has
This is here in a rock and roll band.
What's that?
Said you were at Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band.
Yeah, so I'm wrapping up. This album has some really standout tracks. It's really very solid. It's kind of the end of the classic lineup. Well, it's not the end, but it's close. It's definitely the end of the classic sound. And because then he doesn't go out on the tour with them when they do the Octave album, and the Octave album. Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. It's still a pretty vital album, but of all the classic albums, this and Threshold are my least favorites.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of weird. I don't think you'd find a lot of hardcore fans saying that, but I don't know what it is what it is. I go with what I hear. And
I think Graham Edge also played like electronic. The liner notes just show Graham Edge drums, but he's sitting like at a keyboard. Like what are those things called?
Like a V-synth?
It's like an EMF or something like that. It's
like a V-synth where it plays Roland V-synth drums? No?
I don't know, but him and Pinder both used one. I don't know if it's like a click track or what, but yeah, there's really not a whole lot of stuff here as far as who played what at all in the liner notes.
Let me see something real quick here.
But I think someplace on the internet you can.
No, you're right. It does. It says just Chamberlain, piano, and harmonium. Harmonium's the other thing. Maybe that's what it was.
Okay. What about Graham Edge?
Ready to hit the number 8 album?
Yeah.
Well, technically 9. All right. Hey, Nick, what's up, man? We're
Hey, Nick.
Look at that guy over there. Oh wait, it's over.
Oh,
it's over there.
Yeah.
There he
Hey,
is.
Nick.
There he is. Look there. Look at here, Nick.
Oh.
All right.
I showed you my notes on Seventh Soldier, right?
What about
my notes?
Is that them? Oh, you were serious when you sent me that.
Yeah, I was.
Well, how the fuck do you even read that?
I can't.
Oh.
So I had to rewrite it. Here.
I got you. Okay, I got you.
Here.
I do all mine on the
here
notes section, and then I just send myself an email.
I can't do that.
The funny thing is, I type the shit out, and I still can't make a lot of it out. That's the funny part. It's like, I'll be listening to a song, I'll be typing, and I won't go back and proofread it. And I'll go back. I'm like, what the fuck was I trying to say there? Like, what the hell?
So it's not even. You can't even blame your own handwriting.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're gonna get to Octave here. Ryan, you have that one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me say a
Yeah,
few
like
things
you-
about it. Hang on a second. June 9th, 78, it comes out. We recorded at a couple different studios, and this is kind of an indication. Again, keep in mind, they split. They took a hiatus from what, 74 to 77? 3 years?
Yeah.
No touring, no nothing. They'd made a lot of money, I'm sure.
Well, they released also 2 other albums.
What do you mean?
They released in 74. This is the Moody Blues, which was basically the,
compilation.
greatest hits.
Yeah, compilation.
Compilation. Thank you. And then they released, God dang it, a live album
Okay.
that had 4 songs that were written during the Days of Future Past session that were released with this live music.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have that one.
I had that album, but I freaking gave it away. I wish I had it now. It's got a cool peak hour on it.
The interesting thing about this album is that it's not recorded in London or in England. The bulk of it's recorded in LA and Malibu, Indigo Ranch Studios and the Record Plant, which was, and they're now on Decca and London for the US. I've never heard of London Records. And actually, this is the last one with Tony Clark. I thought this one might be it. It's the 9th record, released 78. First release after a substantial hiatus following the success of the best-selling Sojourn, 72. The album proved to be the last for the group with keyboardist Mike Pinder, who left during the album sessions and declined and offered a tour with the group. He had just started a new family in California and found that he was not getting along with his bandmates as he previously had. Pinder would be replaced by former Yes keyboardist Patrick Moraz, in time for their 78-79 tour, beginning a new era in the band's history. Octave would also be the final studio album the band produced by Tony Clark. The album's title is a musical pun. It references both the notion of an octave and as a word derived from the Latin octavus. It refers to this being the 8th album by this lineup.
Yep.
Following on from the previous album. Okay. The cover art is designed by John Cox, famous for his work with Beatles, Rolling Stones, The Who. Octave was considered a departure from previous Moody Blues albums, mainly because of the group's use of lounge-style organs, synthesizers instead of the Chamberlin and Mellotron, and real strings were used on 3 songs under Moonshine, I'm Your Man, as well as Survival. Released after a considerable break, which saw the Moody Blues returning in an era of punk music and disco. Octave produced a reduced commercial outcome for the band, but reached number 6 in the United Kingdom, and went platinum in the States. There you go, platinum's $1 million. Where the album reached number 13. The album produced the hit song Step Into the Slide Zone, which hit 39, in addition to Driftwood. All right, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, like you said, drastic change. Like in an instant, you went from something like the other previous 3 that sounds like the songs sound like they belong, like they're radio friendly, pretty much. Like in an instant, like some of these, just hearing all this, it's like instant radio friendly style songs, like easy. That's what I have on my notes here. Yeah, like just everything on here, and obviously with the last Binder song, One Step Into the Lights, probably the standout for me on this one. Either that or Stepping Into the Slide Zone, or there's just several other songs. Those are 2 that are instantly coming to mind at the moment for me that were complete standout.
You gotta remember, this came out in 78, and so other big bands like Yes put out what, Tormato in 78, or
Yeah,
they
did.
Right, or was that 79?
78.
78.
Yeah.
And that was very commercial. And,
Yeah.
that
was like a dud also.
Yeah, it was a dud. I mean, there's a couple good songs on it, like Don't Kill the Whale and What's the big long one on there? Is it
Re-release.
release?
Is
Yeah,
pretty
there's a
good.
couple good tunes on it. It kind of takes a bit of a beating, but it's just not as good. And a lot of these long-standing 70s, 60s, 70s prog bands don't really know what to make of the changing market now. They're like, all right, well, do we start to sound more commercial? Do we start to sound poppy? What do we do?
You start to sound a little
Yeah.
disco-y.
Disco, a
Yeah,
little bit,
Simpsons,
they didn't want to go full on punk because they didn't understand what punk was. And punk was already over by 78 in a lot of ways. But they just didn't know what to do. Now, this is the album that I kind of remember distinctly as being the one that I probably heard first. Like, Slide Zone definitely was one of the first tracks that I recall from the Moody Blues. So, is it a bad album? Well, we'll get there in a second.
Yeah,
For
I
me.
don't think it's a bad album. I think some of the earlier stuff were kind of. I wouldn't say they make a bad album. I just think some of them are just a little bit above average in some cases.
Yeah,
But, this is. I don't have. When you get to the ranking, I don't have this ranked really high. So
I don't think
I
this-
probably.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I give this 9.5. It's somewhere in the 9 or a
9.5.
It's somewhere around there. I don't know where, but I know it's around in the 9 range.
Somewhere around there. It could be like a 4.2, but it's probably a 9.5.
Well, 4.2 on a scale of 5.
I go out of 10. I don't do the out of 5s.
All right. 9.5. Holy mackerel. All right. I don't think you're going to get that out of me. In fact, I'm sure you're not.
Or
What
me
you got,
either.
Chuck?
Me either.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
For me, this was a big disappointment. But,
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy that the band got back together because I started getting into, I started listening to This Is the Moody Blues so often, it was like the tape was in my car, listened to it everywhere I went, it seemed like. And I was, I found out during that time, 75, 76, that the band had split up, and it's like, I'm never going to have a chance to see these guys live. What a bummer that is. And then rumors started flying that they were getting back together, and then they released this album, and then I bought the album and went, oh, it's not like the Moody Blues I know.
This
you know,
ain't
up
your
to the
mama's
point.
Moody Blues here.
Yeah. So, I mean, slipping in the slide zone or stepping in the slide zone, it's okay. I mean, and there's other songs on there where, you hear the vocals, the harmonies again, which is great. They haven't lost that. But they had a sax solo in it. And it's like they've never used sax.
Yeah.
It's like 80s fucking cheese movies right there. Man.
Yeah. It's like Kenny G got into the studio or something with them. But they use sax on a couple different songs,
Yes, they do.
and it just kind of sheds a different light on it, it just, but it's a decent average or above average album. It's not one that I'll go to and listen to. There's some parts of it where it reminds me, like the outro on the Day We Meet Again, right at the end of that, it sounds like they're finishing up the outro of just a singer in a rock and roll band. So it's like a homage to it. And instead of stopping on that one note, there's like that organ that kind of sustains it at the end. And that's the high point for me. It's like the last song on the album. 7.5.
Yeah, you guys
I was happy that they got together. I saw them perform live that year, and I was very, very happy to see them perform. And they did a fucking killer Legend of Mind. That flute solo in that song seemed to go on forever in the concert. Of course, probably the drugs talking. But yeah, not a good album.
Yeah,
They set the bar so high with their previous stuff.
You guys are way kinder than I am.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of nice stuff to say. So, Stepping in the Slide Zone is the best song on the album. And it was the single, and it was a hit. Catchy, the synths sound very cheese whizzy now. Love the guitars on this song, though. There's some good guitars on it. It's an early 80s sort of quirky track. Under Moonshine, not a horrible track, just kind of nothing special. Had to Fall in Love. That's a nice little Hayward ballad. I kind of like that, but it's kind of bland. I'll Be Level with You. Probably the third best track. Solid, hooky track with lots going on. Synth, piano, all kinds of harmonies, lead vocals, lines. Synth, lead lines in one. This one is got a lot of guitar on it, surprisingly. And Pinder's all over the song. So I kind of like that one. Driftwood is probably the other second best song. Cool, big, mellow, epic, almost country folk. A little bit of jazz in there. But man, the sax makes it sound so 80s. Sounds like a movie track. Or I hear a little bit of Wildest Dreams in there too. You know the song Wildest Dreams?
Mm-hmm.
Da, 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 da. In your wildest dream. Ooh. I don't hate that song, but it's kind of one of the lamer songs they do. Top Rank Sweet. Ugh. No, Justin, no. Don't do this song, Justin. No. No, don't do it, Justin. I'm Your Man. Absolutely crap.
Oh boy, yeah.
Survival, weak track, very over the top synths, orchestrations that are so saccharine.
Saccharine.
It's saccharine.
Out with the lushness, in with the saccharine.
Yeah, exactly. One step into the light, not terrible, but not great either. The Day We Meet Again, a slog to get through, just isn't that engaging at all.
Yep.
This album suffers from following up 7 of the best prog, pop, rock albums of the late 60s and 70s decades. It's not awful. It's just not that good. Only Slide Zone, Level With You, Driftwood, and Had to Fall in Love Again feel like there was any kind of trying going on with this.
Yeah.
It just felt like they got in a room. Maybe there was a lot of tension. Maybe it sounds like Pinder brought a lot of tension in, or they brought tension in with Pinder. And I'm going 5 out of 10, man. It's just not that good of an album. If I found it for a buck or two in a cutout bin, would I add it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But would I ever play it? Probably not.
The fact that Pinder also waited until they had the tour arranged and dates all set.
Yeah.
And told the band that he wasn't going to tour with them.
Kind of a dick move.
Shitty move.
Yeah, dick move.
So that, I think that probably, came as a result of the recording sessions, that there was just, it just wasn't the same.
Chemistry issues. Like, here's what I said.
Yep.
They kind of tried to start being a singles band, and they weren't very good at that, like they were at making complete albums. But this album sounds, like all the other ones that were interconnected. This just sounds like a bunch of songwriters who came in with their own songs and could have had anyone record on them. It didn't sound like a group effort, really, a real concerted group effort.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And the previous 7 albums, it was almost like they made like one continuous album from Days of Future Past all the way up to Seven Sojourn.
Yep.
Which is not a bad thing in this with this band. I mean, they kind of carried that sound, that lushness, but they always had something, another element in each album that kind of tweaked it, so it wasn't, doing the same thing over and over again. Milking it. They're still being creative. They're still putting out original songs, and then this one, I just kind of freaking gets stuck in the sand,
Yeah, they had a good identity.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of lost it here. It was like, it just sounds like they came together, and the lure of, okay, a big tour and some money, let's do this thing, guys. And they got together and we're like, is this the best we got? Well, we got to give them something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What do you got, Ryan?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of similar because they both came out the same year in that the whole tension of it. It's like similar to like Black Sabbath, Never Say Die, because both came out the same year.
Yeah,
and there were,
that's a good point.
There was a lot of tension with
That's
the band.
That's a great point, man. Yeah.
Hmm.
That album doesn't have very good songs on it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, there was something in the water in England. Well, of course, this was in California when
They're in California.
when
Yeah,
they did this. So there's something in the water on the planet, for all these bad albums to come out in '78.
Well, again, keep in mind, you're right at the end of punk, the post-punk era, and you're getting into the new wave and the
new wave. Yeah.
the post-punk era. You're getting bands like, Ultravox and Tears for Fears and all those kind of bands are just about ready to pop onto the scene. Depeche Mode, a lot of those kind of bands, and Duran Duran, stuff like that. So it's like they don't really know what to do here. They feel like they got to get more modern. They got to be more modern. So they put this album out, and it's more modern, but it does not hold up well. I don't think at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah, it's not that good. It's a very forgettable album. Good way to put it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Nick, if you're gonna be around, stick around. Maybe we'll do an after thing if Chuck wants to stick around. It's up to him. He might want to bail, but okay. Last one, guys. Right? Last one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number
Okay,
21.
Ryan. There you go. Ryan's got
Long Distance Voyager.
Long Distance Voyager comes out May 15th. Hang on, let me finish. May 15th, 1981. Comes out on Threshold. Pip Williams is the producer. It was recorded at RAK Studios and Threshold, so they had their own studio by now. It's the 10th album. Group's first album featuring keyboardist Patrick Moraz, who previously had worked with the band Refugee and Yes in place of co-founder Mike Pinder, who left it after Octave in '78. Upon its release, Long Distance Voyager became the Moody Blues' second American #1 album. It was also the source of the top US 20 single Gemini Dream and The Voice. It also continued their winning streak in their native United Kingdom, reaching number 7. I think that's it. Go ahead.
Yep. This completely, in my opinion, this completely erases the fact that Octave exists. Like, literally. It's like, listening to this, it's like, it reminds me of Every Good Boy Deserves Favour and Seven Sojourn, just mixes with, like, have more of that synth-driven, like, more synth. If those albums had more synth on it, those were released in the 80s, literally. Just, I think the songs I kind of like off of this, the final 3, with Painted Smile, Reflected Smile, and Veteran Cosmic Rocker, obviously I think has to do with, what are they? Themes of carnival jesters and the chaos experienced backstage at a rock show.
Yeah.
What I have written down and stuff like that. What else is there that I kind of like off of here? It's just that it's just like those albums. Like I said, like Every Good Boy Deserves Favour and Sojourn, just with a more synth-driven sound. And yeah, it's at least for this being the ending, I'm kind of glad that it at least goes out on a really great note. Yeah. And obviously, as I mentioned, those other 2 are a 10 out of 10, so this is also a 10 out of 10.
Nice, going a 10 out of 10. That goes well. We're back up to the 9.5 on Octave.
Yeah.
Ryan, I got to ask you this. I'm not doing this to make fun. Do you really think that Long Distance Voyager is a 10, but Octave is a 9.5? I mean, really?
I could probably maybe think about maybe giving Octave maybe a lower score, probably below a 9 or something.
There you go. I think you might have dropped that. You might want to reevaluate that. All right.
Yeah, I definitely go back and listen to Octave, but I definitely think it might be lower than what I gave it.
Okay. Chuckles.
Yeah, Patrick Moraz, what an addition. And got to see him play. Like I said, in '78, he toured with them. So, but on the first track, The Voice, you can definitely hear Moraz's keyboards work, and that reminds me a little bit of it's similar to not similar, but it just reminds me of the work he did on Relayer, on Sound Chaser, with all that kind of like little goofy sound effect-ish type of keyboards. And he's all over the voice with that. And that's a good song, The Voice.
Oh, great song.
Great song.
It's
Great.
up there with the Question. It's up there with Question and
Yeah.
some of his best songs for sure.
Really, really strong, powerful guitar solo in that as well. So yeah, I like that. Talking Out of Turn, I guess, was another hit for them. Kind of a low key, kind of plodding along song. It's okay.
Well, actually, it's got a little bit, to me, it's almost got a weird waltz kind of vibe to it, like a waltz, but in an electronic sort of sense. It's very 80s sounding when you think about it, because this came out my sophomore year in high school, and I remember that song kind of being pretty popular. That was another bigger kind of hit on the radio. Yeah. The next one too.
Gemini Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good song too.
Gemini Dream, where long time. Here's the thing. I'm gonna read this just so what Jeff said. All right, I want to see if you agree with this. God damn it, I fucking hate. This is about Gemini Dream. God damn it, I fucking hate that I love this song. What the fuck is wrong with me? What is wrong? I should hate everything about this. I should despise this 80s pop piece of shit.
Yeah.
But sorry, it rules. It's catchy and I love it. I love that song. You agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I yeah.
Hold your sign up. Hold your sign up again. Hold your sign up again. I love it. That's awesome.
But the song that just kind of reassured me that I'm listening to the Moody Blues and in their heart and soul and the core
I think I
of
know
this
what it
band, they can put music out there like they used to in the 60s and early 70s, and that is In My World.
Yeah, what a great track. Amazing.
Oh my God, just melts my heart.
Crazy.
Great track.
Yeah.
And then the haunting backing vocals on that.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like, this is more like it,
Killer track.
Yeah. I don't have this. I got to get this back in my collection.
That's one of Hayward's best songs ever.
And it's got a 2-minute outro on that thing.
Yep.
So everybody takes a turn, it seems like.
Yep, it's killer.
So yeah, that was.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be interestingly in the same. I think we're trending along the same line here.
But the last 3 tracks kind of lose it for me. That's the
Ray Thomas stuff.
The Ray Thomas stuff. The
which one? Painted Smile and Veteran Cosmic Rocker.
Veteran Cosmic Rocker. It's okay.
It's silly. It's over the top silly.
Yeah, but it's done on purpose. It's done for a reason.
But you know what? I really like that song. It's just
I did not like that spoken word in there either. It's kind of weird with the reverb on it, and
it's a grower, dude.
Speeds up. It's like they didn't have to include that.
I get, yeah.
But
Nervous. What do you think about Nervous?
I don't think anything about Nervous. I don't have anything written down about Nervous.
Write it down. Okay.
I hit the songs that I want to talk about. Don't make me talk about it anymore.
Well, you got to listen to Meanwhile, 22,000 Days, and Nervous. They're all
really 22,000 Days. That's pretty good. That's
a weird pompy, proggy, pompy, whatever.
Yeah. It was the last album I listened to before we came on tonight, actually. So
what do you got for this one?
I'd say solid 9.5.
Wow, you're even better than I am. All right. I had this album once upon a time. Just didn't listen to it much for long periods of time. And I guess I figured, I don't need it anymore. Got rid of it, but man, I would grab this one. Now, would I pay full price for it? I'd prefer to get it used somewhere. Mm-hmm. So like I'd scour eBay for a $6 or $7 copy, because it's not like it's super valuable. But I think there is a reissue of it that has some like 5 or 6 bonus tracks. So I might do better on that. But the voice kicks off with that, won't you take me back to school? I need to learn the golden rule. Won't you lay it on the line? I need to hear it one more time. Oh, won't you tell me again? Oh, can you feel it? Oh, won't you tell me again tonight? It's just a great riffy song, man. It's beautiful. There's so many really cool proggy but good rocky sections of it. Love it. Talking Out of Turn, almost a weird waltz, like we said. Oddly, I dig this one. It's very 80s, but I dig it. I like it. There's something about it I like. We talked about Gemini Dream. You know, I should hate that song, but I love it. In My World, really killer Hayward, proggy, folky, layered, beautiful track. I just didn't remember this one until I re-listened to it. And I'm like, wow, this song's killer.
Yeah. So same here.
Wow, really nice poppy track, proggy, easy listening, but it's a good one. 22,000 Days, weird, quirky rocker with some poppy rock bits in there. Nervous, kind of a big epic ballad. Lots of strings, bombast, but I hate to say it. Kind of liked it. Painted Smile, Thomas's 60 trippiness and weirdness is back. So silly and yet endearing. I like it. Reflective Smile is just a little interlude thing. I forget what it was. And Veteran Cosmic Rocker, yeah, it's a little goofy, but I kind of enjoyed it. I just like his weird Monty Python sense of humor, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned that in the beginning, that he looks like Michael Palin or something, right?
Pinder looks like Michael Palin.
Yeah.
And he actually oh shit. Keep going. I gotta look it up. My notes.
But I can't believe I'm gonna do this, but I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. This album was, in my opinion, the last great Moody's album, end of era. You can probably pull all the best tracks off the remaining output by them, and it might fill up a full CD. There's just a lot of filler and mediocre material. Just isn't that great. Lodge tours by himself. Justin Hayward goes out on his own with a band. Mike Hayes is part of it. Who else? I don't know. Pinder, I don't think, is doing anything that I'm aware of as far as music. Are you?
I know Pinder was doing like tutorials on YouTube on how to play the Mellotron.
Really?
Yes.
They're out there on YouTube?
They're out there on YouTube. You should check it out.
Check those out. Are they old or new?
They're new. It's after his whole career with the Moody Blues is over. I don't know. I mean, how long has YouTube been around? I mean, he's done it in that format. It wasn't like an old video of him, posted up on YouTube.
Yeah, I got you. 20 or I think it's been around 25 years, something like that.
Something like that.
I have to admit, this has been a lot of fun, man. We wanted to do it a while back, and but it opened my eyes how killer they were. That 7-album stretch was just very few bands have been able to do that. Rush did it, of course, but a lot of my other favorite bands weren't able to do that. Porcupine Tree didn't do it, in my opinion. They put out a lot of good albums, but just it's very hard to write that kind of quality music 7 albums in a row that has that kind of staying power.
I agree.
And I actually hit my daughter up, Maddie, and I'm like, hey, do you know any of the Moody stuff? And she's like Moody Blues, and she's like, let's see what she says exactly here. She's like, yeah, I know Days of Future Past, In Search of the Lost Chord, Long Distance Voyager. So she knew 3 or 4 of them. She's like, they're epic. And I'm like, well, you got to listen to Children's Children. You got to listen to, what's that?
Threshold.
Question of Balance.
What's the
Every
one
Good Boy Deserves Favor.
Yeah, what was the one?
All the rest of them, Jeff, except
I know, but I'm forgetting the title. The one with the wizard on the front.
The Wizard?
Yeah, like a wizard, dude.
Well, Every Boy Deserves Favor.
The other one with the one that was after the 6th one.
7 Sojourn?
Ow, motherfucker! Why am I having so much trouble with this?
Wizard, you're throwing me off with Wizard, man.
It's got that one, yeah.
Question of Balance.
Yeah, this headache.
Wizard.
This headache is beating the shit out of me right now. But yeah, so I just wanted to say, I have to admit, this has just been a lot of fun. Ryan, I'm glad we got to get you in there. We'll do our rundown on our ranking then, okay? And did you rank them, Chuck?
Was I supposed to, Jeff?
Yeah, did I forget to tell you?
Is this okay? I did not rank them.
Okay, rank them.
But
you think you
I'll I'll
Thinking,
improvise.
can you improvise a ranking? Okay, my bad. I thought I told you. Ryan and I did, and then, well, actually, I kind of did. I kind of did tell you, but I didn't tell you directly. So I kind of indirectly told you that I said I was going to have Ryan on for the ranking, but I didn't say, oh, by the way, Chuck, rank them. Yeah, there's a text in there. Pretty sure. All right. Anyway.
I'm checking my phone.
How about we go with number 10, Ryan?
I mean, it should be pretty obvious. It's the debut.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Unanimous. All right.
Yep.
Number 9, Ryan.
Oh, this one's gonna probably maybe upset some people. Days of Future Past.
What? Oh my goodness!
Like I said, it
That
is
boy is high on something.
high on life, probably.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
But not false drugs.
No,
Doing the real thing.
I don't do drugs outside of prescription drugs, of course, but no recreational for me.
Right.
What do you got?
It's a line from Firesign Theater. So number 9.
Check.
Number 9 for me would be Octave.
Yep, I'm with you on Octave. Number 9 for me as well. What else do we have here? We're at number 8, Ryan.
A question of balance.
Wow. Holy moly.
It might be a little bit higher now because with the octave and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got Octave above question balance. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll have Octave at number 8.
Yeah,
Maybe even 9.
I talked him into it, man. I talked him into it.
Yeah.
What do you got, Chuck, for number 8?
Fuck, this is hard. Well, the rest, shit, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I'll put at 8 children's children.
Wow! Oh my god!
Wow, that surprises me. That surprises me.
For me, I have Threshold at number 8. Threshold.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh wow!
What you got there, Ryan, for number 7?
Well, this is now the new number 7, pretty much. So.
Question balance. Chuck, number 7.
Yeah, question of balance. I think number 7.
Don't forget, did you forget long distance?
Oh yeah, I did. Fuck. Back that up.
Yeah.
Number 8 would be long distance, and then number 7 would be what I just said. Children's children.
Okay. All right. For me, long distance is number 7, but barely. I mean, I really like that album. So, Ryan, what do you got for 6?
In Search of the Lost Chord.
My goodness, boy. My goodness. Okay, Chuck, what do you got, number 7?
Every Good Boy.
Okay. I got 7 Sojourn. I like it a lot. It's just a little flat for me in places that I wish it wasn't. 1 or 2 songs on there that would have been a little better. It would have been a lot higher. Ryan, what do you got for number 5?
Every good boy deserves favor.
Okay. Chuck, number 5.
How many albums we got left? 4, right?
5 now. 4.
Well, once you say this one, 4.
Yep.
Shit, I'm missing something here.
Well, you all right. So last one you had was Magnificent Moodies, right? Number
10 is Magnificent Moodies. Number 9 is Octave. 8 is Long Distance.
Right, and 7 was Children's.
Children.
And what about
6?
Was Question of Balance?
No, Every Good Boy was number 6.
Okay. All right, so you're at 5 now.
5. Oh God. Question of Balance coming in at number 5, I think.
All right. For me, 5 is Every Good Boy. Number 4 for you, Ryan.
1 of 2 that I do not have. 7 Sojourn.
Okay. And 4 for you, Chuck.
Threshold of a Dream.
Okay. Number 4 for me is Question of Balance. Number 3, Ryan.
To our children's children.
Nice. Chuck, number 3.
Days of Future Past.
Number 3 for me is Days of Future Past. Ryan, number 2.
Long distance.
Wow, look at that.
Whoa.
Are you sure you don't want to swap that out for Octave?
No. Hell no.
I mean, you sure you don't want to go that 9 for Octave and that 9.5 for long distance?
I could now probably put Octave at number 9 and in Days goes up to 8.
All right, okay. For me, number 2 is... What the fuck did I do with it? Oh, there it is.
Lost Chord.
But just barely. Number 1, Ryan.
You don't want to hear my number 2? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, John.
Mom, I'm not hurt.
I
If
jumped
I had
him.
feelings, I'd be hurt right now, but I
jumped
don't.
him. Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I would put 7 Sojourn at number 2.
Wow.
Barely.
Okay, what you got for number 1 there, Ryan?
Threshold.
Threshold.
Lost
Nice.
Chord. Lost Chord for me on
You
number
got
1.
Lost Chord, and I got Children's. So very a lot of variation there.
Yeah.
Chuck, you and I were pretty much fairly aligned, but we're older heads, so it makes sense.
Maybe so.
I think the only one I was way off on was Threshold for you. Sojourn maybe a little low for me too for you. But yeah. All right. Well, we did it. We got it done. And Ryan, thanks for joining me. Thanks for keeping it brief. Thanks
3
for
hours.
staying under control. I'm going to check in with Nick and see if he wants to hang a little bit, see if anybody else is out there. Chuck, I don't know if you're done for the night or let me know.
I'll hang for a little bit, for sure.
You want to hang for a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, I'll hang for a little bit, yeah.
Well, what I'm going to do is
Same
I'm going to
here.
wrap this stream and I'll fire up another one and send you a link. Maybe
Sounds
we'll
good to
see
me.
if maybe we'll see if Ben's around. I don't know if he's working or not. Is he working?
I think he maybe.
All right. Well, let's end this one quick. And Nick, I'll hit you up privately, and we'll see if I don't know if there's anybody else. Maybe Dennis is up. Dennis usually is up late, but I don't know what his new schedule is. But maybe the 4 of us will just hang for an hour and a half or something like that, man. See what's up.
Sounds good.
Okay. Appreciate you guys doing this, Ryan. Thanks for doing it. Chuckles. I hope it was worth doing it. I mean, I know that it was fun to dig back into that catalog for both of us, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. This was a labor of love. Not even a labor. It was just all love.
Yeah.
Going back and listening to this stuff. And then, postponing it from Saturday to now just gave me more time to spend with the music I love. So I think I spun these albums about 4 or 5 times each.
Did you really? Okay. I was only
except for Octave and Voyager, but the core Future to 7 Soldier, those. And reading some of the comments, because I was doing it on YouTube a lot.
Right.
There was a lot of comments from soldiers that were in Vietnam talking about what these albums meant to them. And, there was a gunner on one of those helicopters that had like Every Good Boy Deserves Favour, like on rotation. And he's like, can you imagine flying in a helicopter, manning a freaking machine gun and listening to the Moody Blues?
No, that's kind of wild.
It was just, I guess, the way to cope with their reality,
Yeah.
So
you think it would have been stuff like Hendrix or Led Zeppelin or that kind
well, I'm sure Hendrix was there for sure, but
all right, guys, hang on.
Anyways,
thank you. Stay there a minute. Thanks for everybody that joined in and watched. Boogie Reverie, it's cool that you stopped by. We were up at like 12 or so, and then all of a sudden everybody just dropped off. I guess because we got started so late, everybody had to crash for work or whatever. So hang on, guys. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you. Oh, real quick show notes. Tuesday the 20th, Jimmy and I and Serge are doing Alcest. And then on the 1st of July, on the 24th, Kellen from Killing for Company and Brian Arkham. I've got Brian Arkham out of retirement. Yes. I lured him out. I lured him with hookers and cocaine. Just kidding.
Drugs and lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers, guns, and was it lawyers, guns, and what?
Lawyers, guns, and money.
Money. That's it. No, he's coming out, and Keller are coming out, and we are doing the first episode of the electronic. It's called Electric Meditations, episode 1. We're going to talk about electronica, electronic, dark ambient, drone, all kinds of stuff like that. We're pulling 5 albums each, so 15 albums. We'll talk about these albums, CDs, same thing. And
awesome. When's that?
That's Saturday the 24th.
Okay.
And if you want in, you have to let me know. But it's 5 electronic things, and I have to see the albums first. Like, I have to look them over. One, because I don't want us all choosing like Phaedra, or all choosing Zeit or something like that. I want to make sure it's all different things. And I also want to make sure it fits into the genres that I'm wanting to get into. What's the other thing? July 1st, myself and Andy Cloudy Milder, from over in the UK, we are going to do the band Magnum. The whole catalog. It's like 24 albums, I think. It's going to be like a Saturday afternoon, like late afternoon, like I think like 8 o'clock for him, like 4 o'clock for me. But that's probably going to be at least a 5-hour episode like that. So buckle up, motherfuckers. All right, guys, we'll talk to you. And thank you, everyone. And hang on, guys.